Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show. Today's Friday. It is April the 3rd. We're going to have a very special Friendly Friday episode. I have Robert Sausalito, a.k.a. Bobby Sauce. He's going to join us. I haven't spoken to him before, so I'm looking very forward to you may have seen him in a plate carrier running around in the darkness with a water bottle on his chest, kind of dishing it up hot and fresh. And we're going to have Steve Baker on. Formerly of The Blaze, that's going to be the announcement, I guess, we'll talk about today. A investigative journalist who's been running down the pipe bomber case, doing the work that your $11 billion investigative agency of the FBI will not do for whatever reason. We're going to talk some Kash Patel. We're going to talk about bimbofication, since it's been kind of a wild week. We've gone from big fake boobs on a man in his 50s to Pam Bondi, who's 60 years old and still looks a lot younger, is no longer the AG in this country. She's going to hold on for another couple days and transition Todd Blanche. So it's been kind of a week. I don't know if you guys are, but pretty much everybody in my family is sick. I think Steve Baker might be running around sick. I know I'm a little bit under the weather. So if you're under the weather, we're with you. And a big shout out to Drew in our chat over on YouTube, who said he watches me every single day for the last year at work. I'm sorry to Drew's boss, but I appreciate you being here. Folks, let's do a quick little self-promo here, and this is it. I just want to say thank you to all of you that are our sponsors. Some of you are sponsors yourselves. You guys are our members over on YouTube. You guys are great. Make sure you guys like the video at some point in time if you're watching today. That would be fantastic. If you want to support us, there's a link in the show description for all the people that are our sponsors every month, and that includes our friends at Silent, Patriot Protect, and Shield Arms, and Secure It. If you guys are into it, all you got to do is scan the little QR code that you see on the screen right now. It'll take you there. So if you're watching on a TV, knock that out. And we're going to have some fun today as best I can, because I felt like today was really freaking heavy. It was a really heavy show. If you guys want the legal argument, if you want to go through line by line of what the filings have been in the Brian Cole Jr. case, the pipe bomb case, check that out. I think those were very illuminating. And if you want to have some fun, then stick around with us today and join us in the chat over on YouTube. Join us on Rumble, and make sure you've liked and subscribed on those places. All right, let's dive into it starting right now. All right, I'm going to bring on two guests. Are you guys prepared for this? We're going to wait for everything to just crash and see if the FBI jumps in. Good morning, Mr. Steve Baker. Good morning, Bobby Sauce.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kyle.
All right, audio checks look good. Systems are go. We are going to try to do an orbit of the moon. Do we actually go to the moon, Steve Baker?
I actually have recently answered that question. Look, we should probably dispel this myth now that Megyn Kelly is spiking my interview that I did with her on Wednesday. That is not happening.
Okay.
Actually, they think that the interview was important enough that they're going to create a special out of it. They're doing much more background on it. She's got an incredible research team. I wish I had access to that kind of funds, but she does. They were very, very well prepared for me coming in. She was very hard on me. She played the role of a, cross-examining attorney. She is an attorney. She did not.
Does she think we went to the moon? Hold on. Does she think we went to the moon?
I didn't ask her that question, but it was one of the questions she asked me was, was I a conspiracy theorist? And she rattled off a handful of questions in which I had to answer about what I believed was a conspiracy or whatever. And I believe we went to the moon. Look, I'm an Apollo kid. I was there for Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo. Yeah, I'm a boomer.
I know. I'm just watching our chat because I know this always gets people riled up. Let me throw it to Bobby. Bobby, did we go to the moon or not?
I do not believe that we went to the moon.
See, we got to have some dissent. I like a panel.
I have a great story for you. All right, and this is one of my name dropping moments that you'll have to forgive me of. But Vivian Kubrick, yes, the daughter of Stanley, the late great director, is a friend of mine, and so I actually asked Vivian one time. I said, is it true that your dad filmed the moon landings at Pinewood Studios in London or whatever, or wherever? And she said, I can tell you with absolute authority that my dad did not film the moon landings
because it was somebody else.
Them cinematography. She said, I can also tell you with authority that the moon landing never happened. So
Bam!
That's
all right. So now we're all over the map here. Nobody knows what happened. My wife is now in the camp. My wife is the same lady who I don't know. So Bobby, this is just kind of a funny story. I was working surveillance, working in the FBI, and I'm chilling in my car, and I get a text message from my wife, and with no context, right? And we'd probably been married for, I don't know, 7-8 years. She sends me this message, and she says, "Is Michelle Obama a man?" Like,
I love that.
Just out of nowhere, just straight up. It's like, uh-oh. I go, honey, what have you been watching? And so she starts sending me some clips and some Alex Jones stuff. And there's like those, the video from Ellen and all the other dancing stuff.
What did you say to that question?
I was like, I would have said no 5 seconds ago. And now I'm in the undecided category.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm open to finding out more about. I don't want to know more, to be fair, but I'm open to finding out more.
We all want traps like Michelle. Let's just say that.
I don't know. How do you get that? Is that just Shrug Central? Or you just... Is that carrying water for?
Probably just carrying around Barack on your back all day. I guess I don't know. carrying around guilt. I don't know. She does have a podcast, or they have a podcast now that apparently people watch. So somebody
watches that. That's all bots. That's the same people that watch the damn Bongino show watch that.
Yeah. Yes. Of course. All the real patriots.
Do me a favor, Bobby, will you introduce yourself, kind of a little bit about your background? I think my audience is probably more familiar with Steve, so I want to put you on the screen and let you kind of tell people who you are, and we'll give them your handle. They can follow you on X as well.
Sure. So I'm Bobby Sauce. I'm a political comedian, commentator of sorts. Basically, I was a web developer that just started yelling into his phone about politics in 2020, had 1,000 followers, a couple of videos went viral, and I've made videos about politics pretty much every day for the last 5.5 years. I've been very supportive of Trump multiple times. Now I kind of think he's not what he kind of promised that he was. And I basically just make political comedy videos every day. I'm at Take Naps on Instagram, and you can follow me everywhere at followbobby.com.
That's outstanding. Also, you do this kind of thing that actually feels like it's very cathartic for me to watch, where you just shake your head a lot and say something like aggressively into a microphone. Yeah. I feel like that's what's going on in my brain when I hear a lot of the news. It's just like, what is going on? Where did that come from?
Yeah, well, it really is like pure frustration. Like the first video that I made, it was a very sarcastic take where it's like, yeah, guys, like, let's take advice on who should be the president from like Bill Clinton, guys. Let's take AOC's advice. It's kind of like when you're fully pushed to the brim frustrated about what's going on, and it almost seems like nobody gets it. And one of the things I say all the time is, in your personal life, most people don't want to talk about politics at the bar or at the baseball game or whatever you're doing. So it's like, when do you vent that? And it's like, I feel like sometimes the frustration boils over, and if I couldn't yell it into my phone, I don't know what I would do with that information. I would just be frustrated all the time. And I think a lot of people would. So what most people, I think, do is they tune out of it, and they're just like, dude, I'm going to watch the football game. I'm going to disconnect. I'm going to watch the news and be like, oh, Trump again, or whatever is the thing. Oh, Joe Biden sucks. And I'm just going to move on. And a lot of people disconnect from it because it's mentally taxing. So I started yelling it into my phone as a way of venting, and it just connected with all these other people that felt the same way. But that is like pure frustration in as entertaining of a form as possible. But it's like what my real brain thinks, but most people don't ever get a chance to say.
I think you're right. I used to do that when I was driving in to do surveillance work. I'd be like 4 a.m, and I would just be leaving like audio messages to like my little group chat. And it would just be enraged rants for 3-4 minutes. And then I would just end up. That was how I'd start my day, just yelling at my phone to my friends. Yeah. And they were like, dude, that's your podcast. Your podcast is just yelling at us. And it's like, I don't want that to actually be what it is, but you're not wrong. Steve Baker, I want to give you the same opportunity to kind of tell, you've got some news. So maybe reintroduce yourself to the world and our team and our family here that listens to this podcast. You've got the screen, man.
I'm a different person today than the last couple of times you've had me on your show. I no longer have a muzzle on my face. There's no gag order imposed by my paycheck any longer, effective Wednesday morning about 9:30. And so I'm able to speak much more freely on a few topics, but one topic in particular, I can actually now say the name that previously should not be uttered, and that's Shawnee Kerkhoff. So As a result, I may come across a little bit different today to some people than as usual. But I had been with the Blaze for over 2.5 years. I'm very thankful for the time that they gave me, the platform that they put me on. Things have changed there, and things really changed after we published our story about Kerkhoff November 8th of last year. And we can talk about some of that today if you want to, and we can go through some of those kind of things. But look, I'm still the same person. I still have a dogged interest in the truth, and I don't care where it leads me. It doesn't matter if I have to question the authority or the words or the speech or the actions of the president or any of his cabinet members or anybody else he's appointed in his administration. That doesn't mean that I don't want the best for what this administration has promised us and that we hoped for. I still hope that there's a lot of those aspects of the MAGA campaign that we can get back to and have some victories in. But a couple of those things that I've been really hard on for a long time, preceding my knowledge of who Shawnee Kerkhoff is the FBI and the intel agencies and government corruption in particular. So I'm not going to stop. I wasn't stopping then. I was doing it before I was with the Blaze. I was hired at the Blaze because of that, and I'm going to continue doing it with my partner Joe Hanneman as we move into a new phase of our lives.
A little more independent. Do you want to give the circumstances under which you are no longer employed, since I think that's going to be interesting, and maybe you got people here saying the Blaze is awesome and it's great and Glenn Beck is the man, and you got people saying different things in our chat right now. I'll give you an opportunity to kind of say the circumstances that you lost your employment and why you were muzzled, maybe.
Look, I as I said, I'm very thankful for the platform they gave me. Mm-hmm. I received a call. Gosh, it was in I want to say it was the summer. Yeah, it was July of 2023 from then the brand new hire, Matthew Peterson, who was the editor-in-chief at the time. He'd only been with them for about a month. He was looking for somebody to actually expand the investigative journalism side of the Blaze, which is something that they had really not done. And so he kept calling all of his buddies in DC and asking for referrals and leads on who he might be interested in interviewing and hiring. And the way he tells the story is that everybody he called said that you need to talk to this kind of unknown guy by the name of Steve Baker. And so based on that, he called me. Ultimately, after a few conversations, a job was offered. I was ecstatic to have this offer because I had had a lot of respect for Glenn Beck going back many, many, many years. And my respect for Glenn Beck, look, you can dislike him, you can disagree with him, you can make fun of him because he cries all the time, and he does.
Wait a minute, does he cry all the time? Is that a thing? I saw people say this online. I've never seen Glenn Beck cry, but I'm not a Glenn Beck watcher.
It's a thing. Even his career long show host mock him for doing, and so I but the two things that I respected him for the most were two things that he has done and said over the years. The first thing is that this goes way back, and he has proven that he does this. He said, "If we make a mistake tomorrow, we will lead with our mistake." And I've always thought I could work for that kind of person. We'll make a mistake because you're going to make mistakes. You can't broadcast millions of words a year and not make mistakes, especially when you're doing opinion, analysis, that sort of thing. And so I always liked that about him, and I watched him demonstrate that on numerous occasions over the years. And then the second thing that I always liked about him was whenever he was interviewing a brand new potential elected official. So this is somebody who was unknown to the world, unknown in politics. Maybe they were running for state representative or, whether it was Congress or mayor or governor. If he had them on the show, he would interview them, hold their feet to the fire. He would say, look, I love everything you say. I hope you keep your promises. If you don't, I'll bury you. That's the first part of that. But then he would always close the interview with one last question. How's your soul? And that really impacted me, on a visceral level.
How do you even answer that? Hold on, let's try that out. Bobby, I'm just getting to know you for the first time. How is your soul?
I think it's intact. I don't know how to answer that. I feel like it's intact. It's
Yeah,
good.
that's a question that would catch me off guard. How do people answer that, Steve? Baker, how do they do that?
Well, that's the thing. And we may, look, there's been a lot of discussion the last couple of days about something called polygraphs, polygraphy.
Oh.
And this is one of those things that will elicit a tell when you don't know it's coming. How's your soul? So you get all the promises.
I'd say strong to very strong.
It's a weird question though, because it's like strangely vague without being as deep as it sounds.
It also seems like it presumes certain things, because that means you presume that I believe that there's a soul. It presumes that I care what my soul is doing. So there's a lot baked into the question, I suppose. But
yeah, and it also like, how is your soul? It's like, I don't know. I just think I think it's a tricky question that's not as deep as it sounds. Not to insult you by saying that. I just think it's a weird question.
Let me add something else, Steve. You know what my first thought is, because I'm so sarcastic and everything I do is just flippant. There's this really great, I think her name is it Kristen Hedwig, the chick that does the things on. She was on SNL for a while, and she's like a character actor. She does this impression of Bjork. Is that the singer Bjork?
Yeah,
Bjork.
Yeah. And so she did this incredible impression of her. And at one point she looks over and the guy sits down. She sits next to the guy doing the Weekend Update. And he was like, hey, Scandinavian singer, Icelandic singer Bjork, welcome to the program. And she goes, hi, Michael, like, how's your skeleton?
Yeah.
And it's my favorite question that I've never had anyone ask me. I want someone one day, forget how's your soul. I may lead with that in the future. How's your skeleton?
Yes, I think that's on the same level.
To me, it's just that would be my flippant answer to it. I'd be like, my soul is great, Glenn, and how is your skeleton? It's like, I don't know how to answer it. But I appreciate, this is not the first time Steve's told me this story, Bobby. Like, I've heard that those are the things he appreciated about him, because he saw a different Glenn. Is Glenn different today than he was then, do you think, Steve?
Well, I'm not going to say whether Glenn is himself different or not, because I've never had a personal relationship with him. I've been interviewed by him many times. I have sat in his office a couple of times. I had a very, very pointed and deep conversation with him last summer, in which I reminded him of the reason why I came to work for that organization was partially because of that question, how's your soul?
Mm-hmm.
And he, with his head down on his couch in his office, and he just said, how's your soul? He obviously was challenged by me asking him that.
Interesting.
And so I'm not going to make any analysis about whether he's different or who he is or whatever. I will tell you that what most people don't know about the Blaze is Glenn has not owned the Blaze for a long time. It's coming up on like 3 years, something like that. And additionally, Glenn is now no longer even part of the Blaze. I mean, they are completely separated now. And everybody go, we still see Glenn's show on Blaze TV. Yeah, it's because Blaze is paying Glenn now licensing fee to carry his radio show with the video feed and all. So basically it's just the same as, any other radio network paying for anybody else's feed, whether it's Premiere or Cumulus or whatever, paying for somebody's show that they own. Glenn owns his show, Mercury Radio Arts, lock, stock, and barrel. That's his baby. And then, so now, just so Blaze kind of has I don't want to use the word facade, but it is. It's kind of that, to have that appearance that there's still a connection there, being that Glenn was the founder of the Blaze, to have that connection still in place.
Yeah, they're holding on to that touch base that they had previously, so people can still see that there's the continuity. Would it be fair to say, like, the continuity of having Glenn Beck involved? But he's now and they're paying for access to Glenn and not the other way around.
And if you're listening and watching Blaze since January of this year, since he came back on the air, I think his first day back was January 6th of all days, that he doesn't utter the phrase "the Blaze" any longer.
People go fact check that if you like. Couple things. Okay, so hold on. You didn't answer my question. Oh, how did you get fired?
Yeah, well, since November 8th, when we published our first story about Shawnee Kerkhoff, Blaze went into panic mode. They were very fear. They were getting, they were getting calls, advice, counsel, warnings from all across the media spectrum that they had just opened themselves up to a massive defamation lawsuit. Basically a planet killer, an existential crisis, because Blaze is not large enough like a fox to withstand, a killer meteor like that. And so everything went into lockdown. I was actually forbidden to do, I couldn't for weeks. I couldn't do any shows at all. In fact, Kyle, yours was the first one in early January that I did. And that was without permission. And that was in defiance. I just that was my way of, putting up a middle finger and saying, you're not going to shut me up anymore. I still
restate that one time? Just I want our audience to really key in on this. After you ran the story on November 8th, after the FBI arrested Brian Cole, did they arrest him on the 4th or the 5th of December? It doesn't matter that much, but for some reason it's in my mind, it's the 4th, and people said it.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was 4th, 5th, or 6th, something like that.
All right, so he was arrested on the 4th, the 5th. And after that, then they got some legal notice from a really powerful law firm, Claire Locke, which happened in early January. I got legal notice, so I'm assuming they did too. We'll just go on that. I don't have to say anybody else's business because it's not my business, but that's when I got it. Early January, second time in January.
I got it.
And you got
Same
it.
time.
Early January and mid-January. And then Blaze muzzled you. They told you that you were no longer able to talk. Correct?
I was muzzled within 24 hours of the publication of our story. Within 12 hours of the publication
right
of our
after
November, they were in absolute panic lockdown.
So here's what I'm envisioning, because I'm shaping how we're going to work all this together. First of all, Bobby, if you feel like being sarcastic or anything that's normal to your character, please do. That's the only way that I can deal with any of this stuff.
I did have a comment.
Please.
I just wanted to say that, I don't know if you guys were impressed, but I was kind of impressed when Glenn Beck got that interview with George Washington. Did you guys happen to catch that?
Why do you put George Washington in a blue t-shirt was maybe the word.
Yeah. I had a whole video about that, and I was you're gonna put the founder of the father of America in a like a crispity crackly like Old Navy blue tee to like say we should be at war in Iran or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. I thought that was like the funniest thing.
That was tough to watch. And again, I know what he's doing. I'm not mad at people for doing the thing. I wish they would just be transparent. It's like, look, I'm going to make an argument, and I have this tool, and I want to use this tool. And the fact that George Washington has Glenn Beck's speech pattern is not lost on any of us that were listening to it either. With the same kind.
But also blue tea, though. I mean, like when you think about that, that's like taking the king of the world and putting him in like a hoodie. Like it doesn't even make sense. Like the guy is a war general, like the founder of the United. Like if I was to do an interview like with you, I'm gonna put on a collared shirt.
You not necessary, but I appreciate it.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like,
if you came in a wife beater, it would be a little bit interesting.
Yeah, it's like George Washington was the founder of the United States of America, a general, one of the greatest American human beings to ever live in the history of time. Like, and it's like blue tea. Like he couldn't get into like your local restaurant. You know what I mean? Like he's like a decorated war.
Yeah, no, he's ready to go to In-N-Out, but he's not prepared for like a Chili's.
Yeah, and Glenn's like, "What do you think about Iran?" I don't know. I just thought it was really funny.
That's funny. Okay, but here's the format that I'd like to do, and I'm going to get Steve to finish the answer to his question about being fired because I think it's relevant. I presume way too much knowledge about the J6 pipe bomber case because I've been eating it since the day that it happened. I was working for the FBI on January 6th, on January 5th. My team was on surveillance a week after the fact. So I'm way too deep into this story. And Bobby, the last time I DM'd you, you actually said, oh, shoot, I got to learn more about this story.
Yeah.
And I think that actually becomes the perfect jump off point. What I'd like to do, and I didn't ask you guys, so I'm just like hoping it works. Well, we're just going to lose Steve for a second. That's good. What I want to do is I want to compare and contrast like your knowledge set and kind of let Steve tell the story and you tease out things that you don't know about it.
Okay.
And be more like my every guy. Because again, I'm deep into this story, like way too deep. And I wonder when Steve's going to come back. Guys, that was weird. Did anyone else just notice that? I'm looking over here on our software that you're probably seeing. It's like Steve's gone. He just disappeared. no big deal. He'll come back in a second, I think.
Imagine if George Washington popped back into the chat and he was like, it was like the guy that Glenn interviewed, and he's like, defending America means that we need to go fight for our greatest ally. That's what we should do in my old Navy tee.
Oh, it's so funny.
And Glenn is and the funniest part about it, aside
he's like
from
a major
whatever,
history buff. I mean,
like his office is full of all these like historical elements. Like I've been to the Blaze studio in Texas and walked around, and he has all these doodads and whatnot. It's like Pawn Stars. There's all these different items. So he's a history buff, and it's just like if that was
he's like Pawn Stars.
Yeah, but it's like if that was me, I would be like, dude, you can't put the founder of the country in a blue old Navy t-shirt. Like it's freaking AI. Like it's generated. He could have put him in anything. He could have put him in a muumuu. He could have put him in a anything, a tunic. But like they're just like, nah, crispy tee works.
I think they were trying to make him accessible, which I understand. But at the same time, yeah,
But then why listen
the
to
only
him?
one.
Why listen? If he's accessible, he's not accessible. First of all, he's not accessible. He's literally dead. But second, like the man deserves a degree of respect. If you're gonna put words in the guy's mouth, and like, yeah, it's based on the AI of his whatever. But look, AI is controlled by people. They could have chosen what documents went in and what didn't. They could have written all the answers ahead of time. It's not like it spun it up based on the AI. And also, it wasn't the guy's words.
That's right.
So it's like you could have put the guy in a suit, at least put him in a suit. He's the founder of America.
I'm down with that. Or a disembodied like a head like the Wizard of Oz would have been cool too.
Yeah, like in Futurama, like in the floating juice.
Yeah, like in a floating too. Like he was like a hologram. That would have been fun.
Yeah,
welcome back, Steve. Everything good over there?
I don't know what happened, but I disappeared suddenly. I mean, I had a look.
Listen, if we didn't have some weird glitches and things disappear, this would not be a program of you and I talking. I don't think it ever happens that we have a complete glitch-free moment. Right. Bobby, whenever Steve Friend and I talk, we have like a 90% penetration of some sort of shenanigans happening somewhere in the line.
Yeah, they don't want that conversation happening.
We're like, I tried to, who did I play this with? Steve, were you a Serenity guy? Did you ever watch Serenity and and Firefly, the shows?
Oh, I mean, I know show, but I'm not a big.
I can't remember who I asked it of the other day, but they were like, I asked Joe Altman that, and he was like, I just read books. And I was like, whatever, nerd. You just read books. How about a TV show that's so iconic? Anyway, there's this idea that you can't stop the signal. So like, even if they shut us down, we're not going to stop the signal. We're going to take a couple seconds. I'm going to just remind people to like the channel. And then afterwards, Steve, I want you to tell the story that you got fired. We're going to start back from the beginning of your process, if you don't mind. And what I want to do is I'm going to have Bobby kind of pick at you, because Bobby's going to represent non-expert versions. I think you and I know way too much about this story. You know more than I do, but I know way too much for like a regular person anyway. So I want to kind of do recap. And is that cool with you, Bobby?
Yeah. I
didn't prep this out, so we're just winging it. This is what Friendly Friday's about. Give me 5 seconds here. Folks, if you're watching on Rumble, like the video. If you're watching on YouTube, like the video. If you haven't subscribed, I am mad at you, so fix that, please, and I won't be mad at you, and I appreciate it. You may hear an ad from Spotify at this moment if you're listening on the audio. That seems good enough. All right. Boom. We're back, and we're ready to go. Steve.
Yeah. Bobby, interrupt me, make fun of me. I mean, I already know how your soul is, so
yeah, it's there. According to me, it's there.
You know what? Bobby's soul is it's intact, but it's behind him. The screens are all off, so it's like an unmonitored. By the way, our chat was really interested. They were like, "Are all those monitors connected? Are those just stage props?"
I know. I was wondering.
So
like, I usually turn them on, but every once in a while they have there's like a glare thing, and like since there's already so much glare, I just left them off. Like there's another computer in front of me, and that's my workstation behind.
I figured that what's going on behind you is how you end up hacking all the things like Swordfish.
Yeah, I'm a web developer, so I have 6 monitors around me in a circle. They just happen to be off right now, but no, they obviously work. Can you imagine how weird that would be if I just had a bunch of disconnected monitors behind myself?
I would like it if that would actually make me happier, but also yes, it would be weird.
Yeah,
but it would only be weird. It would only not be weird if you did it on purpose. If you did it accidentally and you're like, I'm too lazy to take down things that don't work, I just leave them up.
Yeah,
that'd be bad.
Hey, rock bands have done that for decades. You stack Marshall stacks up to the ceiling in the arena, but only one of them's actually turned on.
Yeah. Is that really it? Is that the lie?
Oh yeah, that's of course. I mean, there are of course examples where some of the guys that, and of course they're all deaf now, did have their entire, wall of marshals behind them on. But for the most part, you only needed one because that had a microphone or had a direct line into the PA system, and that's all that the sound man was using anyway. So
That checks. It looks cool though.
yeah, it's great.
Bob, you may not know this, but Steve was a professional musician for almost all of his life.
Oh, awesome.
And then has recently moved into the investigative thing. At some point, we'll have some offline discussions. And Steve is one of the more interesting people that you'll ever meet. Has been strip searched by the KGB and arrested by the FBI. That's not a thing that many people can say.
Love it.
All right.
How's your soul?
It's in repair.
Okay.
Right. Like kind of like our nation's soul from Joe Biden's Red Speech when he was doing the Nazi routine.
Yeah.
I feel like we're all trying to figure out what that's about. Steve, what was the final straw for the firing? Because that just happened. Like, I had several people ask me the other day, and they're like, "Well, he hasn't said it, but I know he took it out of his bio." And I don't want to tell people's stories out of school. It's not my story to tell, but they did fire you.
Yeah. Okay. So everything about my relationship with the Blaze changed November, post November 8th. That story. I was put under a gag order. It was not a healthy situation for me. I think part of that stress actually was contributed to my heart failure event on the Sunday before Christmas, and then as I even though I was kind of in defiant, stepping out and doing my own things, I was constantly being warned and chastised by either the executives at the Blaze or the legal for the Blaze. I even had one of the Blaze's attorneys at one point, this was very recently, tell me in a big Zoom call with all the attorneys and the executives and people that this is an exact quote. They did not want me using social media any longer. I couldn't post on social media. In fact, and then I said, "Excuse me, what? I can't post." He said, and one of the attorneys said, "You can post about your children and butterflies." Exact quote. And I ignored that obviously, and so I continued to shit post on X and everywhere else. And so the bottom line for me is that everything changed. I loved working for the Blaze up until November 8th. As I said, it was great. A great team. I had support. We were doing videos. All of my stories were supported by, great video production, that sort of thing. And so I loved my experience there until that time. And so I knew that unless this lockdown, muzzle regime ended, that I would not be able to stay. And then something happened along the way. You mentioned the demand letter that we got. Am I freezing up again?
Yeah, you froze up. It's all right. You just we did Max Headburn last time where you were kind of glitching all over the place. Now you're kind of frozen up. It's all right. Your audio's good.
Yeah, the look is great though, isn't
it? It's a look of discomfort. It tells me that your skeleton is in pain.
Yeah, exactly. I know no way to. I have no idea what's going on right now, except that,
I know, and I've watched you do live television hits on a regular basis where you're standing with a freaking cell phone in the middle of a cemetery and it's fine, and then you're sitting at your hardwired connection and you have problems.
Right? No, I've got high speed fiber optics, the top of the line connection I could have, and this has been happening the last couple of days.
Yeah,
I am told that MI6 has put Pegasus on all my devices, so they're paid for by the CIA. So that's probably what it is.
So that's cool. You know what Pegasus is, Bobby?
I do not, but I can imagine.
Yeah, you can imagine. It's an NSO or what is it? Is it NSO, the Israeli spyware company that they developed for U.S. intelligence services to just take every control of your device so they can see it native. They can activate phone camera without turning on the light. They can activate microphones without letting you know. The only problem is the data stream will go up and sometimes it heats the battery. But yeah, they can. I literally went on Dan Bongino's Fox News show to talk about this thing about 4 years ago. That's how funny this whole thing is, and it's come back to us. It's been around for a while, but Pegasus, the one they use on U.S. There he goes. The one they use on U.S. phones is actually called Phantom. So they call it Pegasus generally speaking, but Phantom is the variant that actually touches U.S. phone numbers only.
That's amazing. I saw Citizen 4. I remember watching that and being like, well, great. this is
We're
happening.
there. We're
And
totally there.
I bet they're not only doing that, but logging it and database.
Oh yeah, I mean, data is really cheap. The craziest thing that I think is that I've got a cell phone. I think it's actually maybe in a bag right behind me. I've got the work phone for my company, which is just like me. It's a single member LLC, and it has a phone number with a limited data plan. There's nothing on it. Like the phone is just it literally I pay 15 or 20 bucks a month to hold on to the phone number that I registered the company with. It sits on a desk and it's plugged in, and I never touch it for months. Literally months. It'll just sit there. I went there the other day and it was steaming hot. And I started getting all these notifications that that I'd overused my data plan by like 15 or 18 gigs in a day. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So I go look and I'm like, what was it coming from? It was coming from Apple Services, which is like nondescript nothing.
I don't like
so
that.
I go, okay, well, that's really cool. So now that just cost me 80 bucks. And also, like, what the hell is that phone doing? Like, there's just nothing there. I had to put it into a Faraday bag to make it stop. And they told me, like, too bad, bro. So anyway, super exciting to find out when when foreign intel services or domestics, you know, they probably couldn't get it up on Steve legally, but the MI6 guys could do it because they're not beholden to our laws, it turns out.
Exactly. Go figure that.
All right. So yeah, so back to the story is that, you know, I got the same demand preservation letter that you got from the big bad lawfare industrial complex firm by the name of Claire Locke that is ostensibly representing Shawnee Kerkhoff. Now we know that's not who they're representing. They're representing the government. There's no way that Shawnee Kerkhoff can afford Mr. Clare himself, his published rate is $1,800 an hour. And, you know, even though she may not be at the bottom pay scale as a government employee, she can't afford $1,800 an hour, especially when you consider that at $1,800 an hour, they're monitoring every single thing that you and I do, Kyle. It's right. It's absolutely. And how do we know that? Because in subsequent responses from them, they send over screenshots of my social media posts and my appearances on your show, et cetera, et cetera. So they're paying somebody $1,800 an hour to sit there and monitor every single thing I say.
That sounds awesome. I'm really excited to find out. And so when you say the government, you mean like maybe the CIA, which is what my wife says.
At the end of the day, our collective tax dollars is paying for their monitoring of me illegally.
Yeah, which means if you're not liking and sharing, subscribing our videos, like you're really doing an injustice because you're already paying for surveillance of it. You might as well share it broader than just the CIA or whoever the hell's watching.
Great way of putting it. So having received this demand letter, that really put the Blaze into panic mode. And
was your demand letter the same as mine? Did you have?
It was. There were substantial differences because obviously your demand letter addressed your speech. My demand letter addressed my specific comments and speech, but the overall context was exactly the same. That that we had substantially damaged Shawnee Kerkhoff's reputation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Was I a central or pivotal source in your story, just for clarity?
I have been debunking that frequently, and there's a lot of lies that have been told from FBI, et cetera, to the media, to government agencies, White House, Congress members, et cetera, et cetera. And one of those persistent lies, actually, I'll give you two persistent lies related to Kyle Seraphin, is that Kyle Seraphin's input was substantial to our investigation into Shawnee Kerkhoff. I took Kyle information about her long before our story was, I don't know how many days or how many weeks before, but we were discussing it beforehand. And then, so that was a name that nobody brought to me. Joe Kent at NCTC did not bring me her name. That's another lie in the media. Kyle Seraphin did not bring me that name. Mm-hmm. Another lie that they've said about Kyle Seraphin is from our sources at the White House.
Wait, this Kyle Seraphin? This one? This guy?
You may be the only one I know.
All right.
There's a lot of Steve Bakers. I think there's 30 or 40 in the Raleigh phone book, where I live.
Jeez.
But there's only one Kyle Seraphin that I'm aware of. And so as I was saying, I heard from the White House, one of the lies that was being told and spread from either Marshall Yates or Ben Williamson, one of the two, was that you weren't even on that counter surveillance team, that SOG that was positioned at the Falls Church arrest, monitoring the activities of bomber person of interest number 3.
Yeah.
They
That's
actually said you were not there and that you were lying about that and had been lying about that for years.
Pick that. Hold on, Bobby. Imagine this. Imagine doing your job. There being documentation that you've done your job. There being a dozen people that you still can call up on the phone that know that you were doing your job. And then the federal government telling somebody, people in the federal government going to the White House to say, like, no, he didn't do that.
Perfect.
Well, what world are we living in right now? Just a deep breath on that for a second. Any thoughts?
It sounds about right. I mean, it's not surprisingly on brand.
It makes you want to buy like a huge set of silicone boobs and just walk around and pay women to watch you.
I know. It makes me so thankful that I didn't wake up with like a big fake Kash Patel titty like boob fetish. That would imagine if that was you. Anyways, I digress.
That'd be yeah. I mean, that would be a rough thing for your soul of all things. Like if that was your soul, that would be a real rough thing to do. Anyway, I love that. So Steve, that was debunked. I think wasn't the Blaze worried about that? They were coming at you because of that statement that was coming from.
Absolutely. They, I was on their radar screen in a manner that I'd never been before in terms of, internal scrutiny, that sort of thing. Look, anytime you're part of a large organization, and there are people in leadership at various levels of editorial leadership, producer leadership. So, not everybody likes you. And so there's always some critics, even in house. And so I had my share of critics also in the Blaze hierarchy, but I also had my supporters. I had those who believed in me and believed in my work. And so, but yeah, one of those things that was, that immediately was told to me because it was one of our, DC employees, reporters that with their sources at the White House said, they're telling us that, the FBI is saying that Kyle Seraphin is lying about him being on that SOG group January 12th, 13th of 2021.
Why would anybody even do that?
Such an easily prove, and then of course when the most recent whistleblower came out last fall with the protected disclosure, he put that lie to rest.
Yeah, well, it's like it's such a strange thing to have lied that anybody would lie about in the first place. It's like, oh yeah, I was there. It's like demonstrably you were not. Or there's documentation and a dozen people saw you there and they wrote it up in an official government document that can't be altered. Yeah. There's handwritten documents. There's photographs submitted. There's swearing attestation. I had a timesheet that said what I worked on each day. This is such a weird thing for somebody to go out there and try to. But this is that whisper campaign we talked about. And Bobby, this is something that's been going on for quite a while that people have. This is why I'm interested in to see sort of like your grasp of what the story is. Because there's been all this fake stuff that's been put out there. The New York Times ran a piece 2 days ago that said the already debunked story of Shawnee Kerkhoff, the Capitol police officer. And they cited the fact that they said it was debunked. That was the entirety of what they did, which is this kind of like overwhelming thing. It's this overwhelming tactic of saying, well, this is something I've done a bunch of podcasts on. It's called the illusory truth effect. The illusory truth effect is I just repeat something to you, and if you hear it enough times, regardless if it's true or false, or there's any backing, you just believe it's true. Like some people believe that there was a moon landing, and some people believe it was false because they've just heard it enough times. They're like, well, all my friends think it's fake, or all my friends watched it happen, and they just believe stuff, whether or not there's any rational thought behind it. And, now debunked. Steve Baker was debunked despite the fact that no one debunked it.
That's a long-standing process of the mainstream media. I used to say back in my old days as just a commentator, analyst, shit poster that I watched or listened to NPR so you didn't have to, and I did. I specifically spent hours a day listening to NPR in the background because first of all, you learn stuff. You learn
that about 60% of the world is transgender, which is not something you would otherwise know if you lived in reality.
You would have no idea. But one of the specific tactics that they use as being quote unquote, a bipartisan neutral entity is that when they would have somebody on in an interview, but pick your topic, it doesn't matter. That was the first thing they'd say. Well, they would go, well, that's a long debunked statement by Senator so-and-so, or so, or a long debunked idea or long debunked theory. not providing any evidence that anybody actually did the work to debunk it. They just say it. And that's what, that's what Alan Foyer was doing in his story the other day, saying that it was debunked. And Alan has not got down on his hands and knees with a tape measure in Rumsey Court Alley behind the RNC and measured the fucking bricks. He didn't debunk a thing.
All right. Well, this is a good opportunity. Bobby, you're up. Here's what I want to know, if you don't mind. I want to hear what your knowledge base is as a person who doesn't eat, breathe, live this, read the damn court filings like a total nerd. What do you think happened January 5th when the pipe bombs were placed onward? What do you know about the case? And then we're going to have Steve, and then maybe Steve will pepper in thoughts on it, and you can ask him questions on it, because I actually want to see this more than anything else.
Well, as far as the what I think happened, that I can't say definitively, but basically my general understanding is that supposedly pipe bombs were placed at the DNC headquarters or whatever the night before. It was caught on video of this. I remember there being some type of video clip of them putting it either one behind the bench or underneath the bench in this courtyard that was visible in one of the most surveilled cities on earth. I remember that they had not gotten to the bottom of it. And I remember that the first like rumblings that I heard about the story was there was some footage about a person notifying like a police officer in the area and saying like, I think there's something over there, and that the police officers didn't have like very much urgency, and that they went directly to where they were. And there was like kids playing in the area or people in the area that they didn't really address, like how you would behave in the event that there was a bomb or was a pipe bomb. I've heard things about the pipe bombs being kind of like your standard issue, like government type style of pipe bomb, not like something that would be created by a normal person. I've heard that the way that the police reacted was very incongruent with how a person would normally react, that the person that identified them happened to know, maybe seemed like they maybe knew where they were or something like that. And then I've heard all of the subsequent reactions from Thomas Massey about the suspect that they seem to be blaming it on. And then I also recall when the Blazes investigation stuff came out and some of the coverage about that, and it being a Capitol police officer, and then it very quickly being, oh no, that's not real, it's this guy. And that's basically my extent of the knowledge of it. But I've
when
always
that happened, what did you make of that? When you heard like, oh, it's not her, it's this other guy. What did you make of that moment, that turn?
It certainly seemed to me like the most highly likely and most highly probable answer, even when I first heard about it years ago, was that it was some type of operative, or that it was a Fed. Who places a pipe on a place where people aren't at night and they don't go off, and the DNC, like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you do that? Why would you do that specific thing when there was all those people around? And I don't know, a lot of it just didn't seem to add up to me. It seemed like a fabricated story that like ChatGPT would write, or that like a movie from back in the day would put together of like, this is how you justify, all of this other bad stuff. Well, there was pipe bombs. And I remember hearing about the pipe bombs back on January 6th or in the days that followed. And it was like, what pipe bombs? Like, there's hundreds of thousands of people there. And there was like generally not that much of an issue, with the exception of at the actual Capitol grounds with the people that were, like in conflict with the police. And it's debated as to how they were being agitated versus not agitated. I'm not defending the people that broke windows and all the rest, but it's like, generally speaking, for that many people to be in that place at the same time, and there not to be more issues, like I think shows the general peacefulness of that area. And then for there to then mysteriously be pipe bombs outside of a building placed the night before in this heavily surveilled area that nobody seemed to figure out who it was, just didn't make sense to me.
I love it. I called it the American Rorschach test. The way you looked at January 6th. If you were on the, it was an insurrection and the government almost fell to a bunch of guys with flagpoles, then you were one group of people, just one way or another. And if you thought it was like the most patriotic display of Americans loving America, like that was another thing. And if you sit, it sounds like where you are in the closer to the middle, where I sit. I think it's where Steve Baker sits, where we're like, hey, some people were doing dumb things. Actually, Steve has a really nice phrase about this. You have like 3 little descriptions of the people. You want to fire that off, Steve?
Yeah, it's very simple. It's one of my January 6th axioms is that, there were 3 types of people that I saw there that day. I saw bad people doing bad things. I saw good people doing good things. And I saw otherwise good people doing really stupid things.
And feds.
Well, there's,
lots of feds, lots of people standing around saying and doing things that didn't make sense, that were incongruent with every single other person that was there. We were like, why are you doing that? Why are you saying hand out gas masks? Why would you do that? Why are you a military age male with a dog standing at a street corner, which would be a high traffic area, telling people to go up there and get a gas mask? Why are you doing that? That doesn't make sense.
That falls into the bad people doing bad things category.
Okay.
So those could be feds, or they could be people who are just agitators, outside cutouts, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, so that's the kind of the funny thing. I think your synopsis is actually really good. I think it's probably more nuanced than a lot of people. Steve, you want to put some more meat on some of the bones there that's junk out. As you were listening to it, I know there were things that probably were like, okay, that's what I want to comment on. What do those look like?
Yeah, no, I think that the am I about to? Oh God, I'm telling you, this is one of the most aggravating times I'm having right now. Seriously, something is happening in my computer right now that I can't quite identify. Like really strange things happening.
Sure.
I'm getting pop-ups on my screen I've never gotten before. I actually have
you're not supposed to say Phantom out loud. You're supposed to not talk about it.
I have my virus. I have my virus cleaner on my screen, actively monitoring it as we speak. And of course, it probably can't capture Phantom or Pegasus. I'm sure that they can get that on here without me knowing.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, no, I was actually impressed, Bobby, that you probably have a better overview of the entire scenario than most Americans have bothered to, find out about or learn about or even pay attention to, and largely accurate. One of the most significant things that you brought up is that there's no reasonable explanation for the way law enforcement, particularly the Secret Service, behaved after being notified by undercover or plainclothes Capitol Police counter surveillance officers that there was a explosive device sitting 10 feet from them while they're eating their lunch in the front seat of the SUVs. Yeah. And the fact that they waited 2.5 minutes before they even got out. And then they spent the next several minutes in complete total disregard of their training, standard operating procedure for how to manage a scene with a what's the term I'm looking for here, Kyle? A suspicious device or whatever. That is mind blowing when you watch it happen. As children and families continue to walk right by the bomb, they never stopped car traffic. There's a train trestle 40 feet from the bomb. They never disrupted the train traffic. They never cordoned off the area with police tape. They didn't do anything right. Nothing. And so the only explanation I've ever been able to come up with, well, there's 2 possibilities. Either the Secret Service were in on the conspiracy, if you believe that there was a conspiracy. Or the more plausible explanation to me is that the counter surveillance officer from the Capitol Police walked up to the 2 SUV windows. And then, by the way, the Vice President-elect Kamala Harris was in that building, which is why the Secret Service was there. And so the only explanation I can come up with is that counter surveillance officer, who by the way, we know their names. We haven't published their names yet, although we've done full stories on what they did that day and didn't do. Is he walked up to the SUV window and said, "Hey guys, it's probably a really crappy day for this to happen, but we're in the middle of a training exercise. We've got a, suspicious device over here. We planted it last night. It's nothing to worry about, but we're going to have to go through the motions here in a minute. We're going to call in the bomb squad, go through all that. Yeah, take your time, finish your sandwich. No hurry. I mean, that's the only thing that explains what happens. Then the next day, they're all called in on either the 7th or the 8th. There's been a regime change at the Capitol Police. Chief Sun is summarily dismissed. Assistant Chief Yogananda Pittman has the big chair now, and she then suddenly requires NDAs of every single officer in the Capitol Police. And of course, they bring in the participants of the training exercise and read them notice that you will never, ever speak of this again for the rest of your life or else. That's it.
Can I play you guys something kind of funny? This was circulating. This is a faster than normal speed clip of Dan Bongino talking about something.
Yes.
Do you, this is him talking.
I need my Bongino fix.
You need a little bit of this. So there's my, okay. I had to just rip it in real time. I was like, where the hell did it go? Okay. So here's the context of this clip. This is me being interviewed by Bongino, in which he basically just talks the whole time in this particular segment. 45 seconds of him talking about the pipe bomb. This is February of 2024 before he got mad at me. And it's almost like he kind of knew that the training exercise thing had to be the case, that these were training exercise looking bombs. It's almost like the guy, like we all kind of agreed on the narrative. Bobby hit it. Steve said it. The facts of the case always lined up with it had to be someone who knew what was going on before they got there. It had to be someone who was government connected. And then they immediately just were like, disregard. It was a dude who likes My Little Ponies, and he just hang out in a basement. He's basically Jason freaking Bourne, even though he didn't do anything different in his life, and he's just a regular dude driving around in a Nissan. All right, so here's Bongino clip.
Yeah, Kyle, I've noticed you've been commenting extensively on podcasts and on your social media. I've been following it religiously, and you've had some great ideas on this. And you've kind of become a threat. I've noticed D'Antuono and others seem to be kind of downplaying your knowledge of this kind of criminal investigation into terrorism, and it may be an effort to make you go away. I can only assume. But the FBI, it still has a lot of decent people who work there. I mean, the leadership is a mess, and there are certainly a lot of people there who need to go. But they're not incompetent. I mean, I've dealt with them a lot. So they've got this device that was found in front of the DNC. It looks to me, it appears to be a training device. It's got a rudimentary egg timer, wires, and a pipe. I mean, it looks to me like something you get on Amazon. If you were to put in Amazon, like, give me a fake bomb, like that would be it. How is it that the FBI you worked, which has a very, very good lab, couldn't pull DNA? Where's the video of them dropping a bomb? I mean, there's no way they're this incompetent.
I totally agree. There's no way they're this incompetent unless they chose to be this incompetent.
Yeah, and Kyle, I've noticed you've been commenting extensively on.
All right, so it's looped out. Bobby, you said it looked like a generic training device. It's almost like Dan knew that too.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Sounds about right.
Additionally, in the same exact time frame, February of 24, Bongino was praising me every day on his program for the work that I was doing specifically on the pipe bomb. He's like, man, this guy Steve Baker, he's just knocking it out of the park. He's just killing it, man. It's just one reveal right after the other. He's just killing it. And this is a, we're talking about.
You know what was else? You know what also was in that little segment right there?
Yeah.
He mentioned that there was a discrediting operation going on. People like Steve D'Antuono, who was previously at the FBI, he would have been the special or the director in charge, the assistant director in charge of my old office. And they're like, yeah, I don't know what Kyle Seraphin knows about what. It's like, whatever, dude. Like, you were an accountant. I was in the military. I went through demo training. I got like 100 hours of blowing stuff up with C4. What do you got? It was interesting because he immediately went from that. Then he was part of it when they started doing it the next time, as you were just talking about the White House, kind of telling your people, Seraphin wasn't even there. It's like,
yeah, I mean,
they all get on the team.
Everything that Dan said then is the truth. It's identifiable, provable that it was the truth. And he's done a complete 180 since he became Deputy Dan. But but
we say that in a nice way.
I like calling him Dan's soul is the real question.
Yeah.
Listen, I like calling him Daniel now. And I had a private conversation or texting back and forth with Tom Massey about that specifically. I just said, I really like how you call him Daniel for some reason. Like, it's so diminutive to call somebody by their full name. Like, you're in trouble. Bobby, if someone calls you Robert, like, you're going to look up and be like, uh-oh.
You called me that before.
Yeah, I know. I just for fun, because I thought it was funny.
This is the evolution, and you've got to examine the psychology. Somebody's got to do. I would like to take all of these recent meltdowns by Daniel Bongino and have somebody like Jordan Peterson watch them in real time and comment on them, because he's truly going through something transitionary or
I
breakdown
think
of some
he's
sort.
always been that guy, and I've got some evidence of that. And you know what? While we're doing a little like punching bag time, can we do some punching bag time for one more second? It makes me smile. Let's just show you what happens if you call Dan and you say some things to him he doesn't like. In 2016, Steve Baker. This is he's always been this guy as far as I can tell. And I just was never on the wrong side of it. And the minute I experienced this same dude. Here's what it is if you guys missed it.
Fuck, I mean, do you normally swear at people like this just when they ask you simple questions?
Just so you
So
know,
let's
I don't give you consent.
Okay,
Let me repeat that.
so
I can sue your ass when you do that.
Okay, so you're threatening me again. I understand. You're still acting out.
No, because you're an idiot. You don't understand the legal rules.
All right,
You
so-
have to ask someone to record them. You don't. But you're not smart enough because, again, you have an IQ issue. So I please record
It's always an
that
IQ
and
issue. I'm going to
publish
skip
it so I
ahead just for
can sue you.
funsies.
Do me a favor. I'll handle the
Don't let me see
questions
you
and you
in
handle the
public.
answers.
I'm not
Just
hey,
calm
fuck
down.
you.
Oh, Dan. You really sound like you need some help.
Motherfucker.
I think you need some help.
Fuck yourself.
Okay.
You hear me?
Do you realize you sound like you need
You
medication?
don't know why. And let me tell you.
You sound like you need medication, Dan.
Wait till I shred
Do you
your
need
fucking
maybe
ass
you
on
need some
radio.
professional help?
You have no idea.
Who does that?
Wow.
I think he's always been that way, Steve. Had you heard that all the way through?
Yeah. I've heard it.
It's atrocious. If that's who you are when someone calls you on the phone, I think that's who you are.
You know, in the last few days with this unhinged tirade against Thomas Massey that Daniel unleashed, one of the things that Massey revealed in
It just makes
one
me
thing that Massey
smile.
revealed and has addressed it probably about 3 times in his responses to Daniel that Daniel has never responded to is this claim that Massey makes that Daniel threatened to pay for the defamation lawsuit against a certain reporter.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel has never denied that in any of his responses back to Massey and his subsequent tirades. Well, A, because it's true. And on screen right now is the reporter that Bongino was referring to. I don't think I'm going to threaten my relationship with Thomas Massey by saying this, since Massey's already broken glass here on this particular story. But there was another very significant thing that Daniel said to Massey in that exact same 10-minute phone call, and that is this.
I gotta lock it up. Sorry, I gotta mute myself.
In reference to Shawnee Kerkhoff's investigation, Bongino said, "We are working to clear her."
Yeah, who does that?
Investigators don't say that.
You got an investigative reporter. You've got a former FBI agent. No one's ever said, "Hey, here's a name. Go clear that person."
Correct.
I mean, it's a tactic. It's a tactic that you go, okay, I believe that this person did something, so I'm going to basically work against it. I'm going to steelman my argument by trying to find exculpatory information. That's a thing.
Yeah.
But that's not your goal. Your goal is to figure out what's true.
And what Daniel actually said was in regards to paying for the defamation suit. He said that he would personally write the check for the lawsuit against me.
He better do that sooner than later because Rumble stock's been hemorrhaging. I mean, it's down like 60% since he stepped up into the government. Somebody, I think Jeremy Kaufman. Do you guys follow Jeremy Kaufman over New Hampshire libertarian guy?
Yep.
I don't think so.
He made a claim last night. He's like, Daniel, you're so tough. You've got so many good ideas. You should join the government and try to get an official position where you can affect some change. That might be the best like grenade drop from the upper deck that anyone's ever had. So funny.
He's so angry. He really like lashes out and has been lashing out so much since he came back. And it's just like no person that is as theoretically or supposedly allegedly secure in themselves would be that angry and lash out in such a way at people that are making like legitimate criticisms of what's going on. And then what he does and what so many other people do is then they project all of their insecurities about themselves about everyone else. It's like, oh, you're a grifter, you're a do nothing, you never did anything. And it's like, dude, You said all these things. You heel turned on everything that you said, and now we're the grifters, and you're back like, oh, let's get everybody get Patriot Mobile, and everybody buy this average. And as you talk
Gold
about all
coins.
these things that you had the ability to do something about and then didn't.
Do you think, I mean, you've got a different algorithm than I do, Bobby, and Steve, same story. Like, we're not tuned all the same things, but I see so many people that are just done with it. They're done with being lied to. They're sick of people.
Yeah.
They're sick of people telling them something that they can demonstrably prove with their own two eyes is not the case.
Yeah. We're being gaslit. And what I actually find really funny about it all is that they are advancing the speed by which the people that are seeing this sort of separate from them. They're othering us for noticing it, and they're grouping us together and intentionally dividing us where we were already being divided anyways. It's like, I asked Dan a question on X when he came back, and he blocked me immediately. And it's like, then I literally joined an X group of people that have been blocked by Dan Bongino. There's like hundreds and hundreds of people in this group. And
I hope I shouldn't. Hold on here. I shouldn't show you this, but my group chat with all my friends that are former FBI guys is called Dan Bongino's Block Party.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, so they're like, you're a doomer, panicking, grifter. You're blocked by Dan Bongino. You realize that Thomas Massey is not full of shit. Like, they literally are starting to push us all into this group. And then Dan will incessantly talk about how this group of people is so small and doesn't matter and is completely irrelevant and no one cares about them, yet they will constantly talk about them every day. And then it's like they're creating their own little faction. It's like Ted Cruz, Ben Shapiro, Josh Hammer, and Seth Dillon.
Mark Levin, come on, Mark Levin. I want Mark Levin for the new AG. Baker, I want Mark Levin to be the new AG.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things about no longer having a muzzle on me. I can address now is, because Levin was a co-founder of Blaze, television.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Everybody knows that Steve Baker was working for the Blaze,
Oh,
and Steve Baker was an incredible employee until he went off the rails. He could no longer be trusted.
I want Mark Levin to be out there talking about this Justice Department is seeking justice. Just Mars Attack style. Just
We need the uranium. We need to go in and get the uranium.
That's why we have specialized infantry units that get uranium. They've always done that. Everybody's got uranium.
No one's ever gotten uranium. What are you talking about, Mark? Like, Mark, when was the last time you did a parachute drop? Oh, never? Maybe you should do one. That would be good for you.
Yeah.
Only 50,000 people need to die to get the uranium.
Steve, what is the muzzle off moment with Levin?
Yeah, no, nothing big. I mean, I've only ever been interviewed by him one time, and it was over
Sorry about
related
that, buddy.
to my arrest when FBI put handcuffs on me, and the U.S. Marshals put me in leg chains.
Did he yell at you? Did he yell around you?
No. He was, he was on Team Steve Baker at the time, but things have changed. And look, I'm just going to let your impression of Mark Levin stand for itself because it was spot on.
Yeah.
Steve Baker was attacked by this government. He put him in belly iron and life chains, and they marched him out. Does that sound like justice to you? Now he's an asshole. He's not part of our team. He's on the other team.
And the thing is that all of those things that are dividing the right now, the conservative, the Jew this, the anti-Zionist this, the anti-Semite this, that, all of that. I don't comment on that. I don't participate in it. It is completely not my world. Do I have my own opinions about it? Yeah, maybe someday I'll express my opinions. It's just not what's important to me right now. The things that are dividing MAGA, Republicans, conservatives, the political right, I've never spoken on it. And
but here's the thing, Steve. Bobby just explained the right-wing breakdown of it. And this, you're a doomer. You had a whole thing or the other. Like, here's your favorite. What is it? Covert Democrat. You had a whole thing, Bobby, on your video.
Yeah,
right?
A doomer, a covert Democrat, a panicking. They have got all these. They're creating a bunch of words out of whole cloth to label these people.
Yeah, to other you. But it's the same tactic that the New York Times is doing with the previously debunked story.
Yeah.
They're basically, and in the legal terms, I think I'm close on this. It's like you're citing facts that are not in evidence. These have not been proven. There's nothing that has been proven of these allegations. There's no way What have I panicked about? What have you panicked about? What have anybody on the screen panicked about? Nothing. We've had the government come and look at us. We've had weird things happen. We've had people that are way too powerful to be interacting with us, be mad about things that we've said. And that's not panic. It's just me saying, like, I'm an American. I should be able to say that.
Awareness to observable, objective reality is considered a panic. And then they flip the switch. So they're like, oh, this is just a one-day operation. We're going to go and bomb. We obliterated their nuclear capability for a billion years until 6 months later. And it's like, oh, actually, we got to be over there. It's only going to take 4 days. Actually, it's 4 weeks. Actually, it's going to take maybe another 6 weeks. And then it's like, the gas prices aren't going to be affected. He can't even control the gas prices. Oh, wow, they're low. Oh, now they're up. Oh, gas prices being high is actually good because we produce the most gas. Like, it's like you're panicking for seeing what's going to happen because you've seen it happen 1,000 times. You're a doomer. You're a black pillar. It's like, so if we're black pilled by being aware of reality, what is a Dan Bongino listener? What is a Mark Levin show listener? Like, what are they? We don't even need to come up with a word for them because we already know what they are. They're liars, and they're living in a
I
fake
like window
delusional
liquor
reality.
better. Yeah, I like window liquor. If you've ever seen someone that just really wants to put like something cold on their tongue and it's not a popsicle, it's just the window on the bus. Like
I go soggy brain. That's my default, is just soggy.
It's kind of lumpy and kind of like slouchy.
It's like a soggy, just think of something soggy. It's like warm and like moist and you just really don't want to touch it. It's like it was a soggy brain. Just like
it's a lot of that, but
it's
it's the same discrediting tactic that they've used on Steve. They've used it on me. I'm sure they've used it on you, and they do it for, like, you're doing comedy. Steve is doing investigative journalism. I'm doing commentary that's more or less straight laced with some background. I'm not like a complete buffoon. I actually know some things. I can explain to you what a polygraph is because I've been in them. I know what they do. I know what happens with them. And then I see people out there that are like 13-year-old children that just got out of college, and they're like, they're not admissible in court. Steve, you want to add anything to the polygraphs are not admissible in court? You've been doing some reading on that.
Almost half of the U.S. states now are allowing polygraph evidence to be admissible to a certain extent under certain circumstances. It's not a 100% blanket prohibition against polygraph information and results. Additionally, in the federal system, that information is now being allowed in the appellate process at the circuit court, the Court of Appeals. Not necessarily in the lower courts yet at the federal level, but these things are happening. And look, for the reasons that Kyle talked about yesterday and today, it's not all about the technology and the machine itself and its accuracy of the machine. One of the things that's most important in law enforcement or in forensic science is the human element, reading body language, reading facial expressions, watching how people react to these questions. Yeah. Okay. So you put a bunch of electrodes and things on people. They're probably going to be a little more, anxious, and then you can get more information out of them that way, both before the actual polygraph machine is turned on and after it's turned off. Mm-hmm. And so it's come under, look, everybody in the world is talking about polygraph machines the last 3 days. Just like after November 8th, everybody in the world for the first time had an opinion about gait recognition technology, and all of the people that debunked our story, quote unquote, debunked it, including the $1,800 an hour high price company killing military or, lawfare industrial complex law firm by the name of Claire Locke said that gait recognition is junk science, except for one problem. It's not.
It's not.
Do you want to? It's been used.
I grabbed your
in
videos
courts
for whatever it's
for
worth.
Hundreds of years.
Yep.
I mean, look. You know how your family members walk. You know how your children walk. You know how your associates walk. The people you spend the most time with. You know how they move. You can see shoulder movements in the dark or in a silhouette and know who that person is. You know who your children are without having to have a bright light shining on them and seeing them in the face by the way they move. And look, the intelligence community as well as the Department of Defense have used gait recognition in kill capture operations for decades. And not only, looking and seeing them from a distance across, okay, yeah, that's him, because guy has a very particular gait. But they do it now from 20,000 feet in the air with drone strikes.
Steve, what did you send me for videos? I got both of them downloaded if you wanted to show them, and I don't know what they are. So you have to tell me. I've got the first one and the second one in that order. So Baker 1, Baker 2 is how I saved them. The one from YouTube I ripped if we want to use it.
Yeah, let's just show number 1. Right.
Okay, number 1 is the one that you sent me as a raw video.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to put it on. Is there audio to it or no?
No audio.
Okay. All right, folks, it's going to be quiet if you're listening. So this is a good reason for you to be on Spotify. You should be on Spotify.
I'll narrate it.
I'm not sure if you'll be able to talk over it because well, you know what? Here, I'll just add you to it. Stand by, bro. We'll make this work. Let me give you an opportunity to narrate. Okay, bear with me. You are guest.
You could play that Dan Bongino song.
Just Dan Bongino.
Dan Bongino. You tell me you heard that song.
I love that guy. Yeah, it's my favorite.
Oh my God, that was so funny.
Okay, so Baker, I've added your audio. You can comment on it. You should be able to, and it should be on the top. Here we go.
All right, this is in the Capitol Rotunda, obviously. Highlighted right in the middle is Shawnee Kerkhoff. She's carrying one of her less lethal launchers on her side. And as you see her move, you can see something that is generally referred to as circumduction of her right leg. This is what is very unique about her gait. Watch how it's stiff. Just watch the right leg there. It's the person holding the weapon. It's a paintball gun. I mean, a pepper ball gun. And it goes out and around over.
It's like her ankle. It's like her ankle buckles.
Yeah. Well, she had a severe college soccer career ending injury in 2015. This is a very common post-injury, post-recovery move by people that have had this particular tibia break. And in addition to what we're seeing there, and of course we have hours of her on Capitol CCTV. You know, the with all of the criticism that we've taken, the public has only seen just a few seconds of the gray hooded bomber that the FBI has deigned to release in frame rate reduced form, 1 frame per second. And there's a reason why they did that, because they had the gait of the bomber is so distinctive that they had to turn that into like claymation stop action so that nobody could see what was happening with that gait. And what you miss out on in the videos that the FBI has released for 5 years is that what you just saw right there is this circumduction.
Did you see it, Bobby, when he was describing it?
Yeah.
It's almost like, it's not a limp like we think of a limp.
Well, we may have that too, actually. Now that I think about it, I've got the other videos that have been sent to you.
Makes me want to see the video of the pipe bomber.
Well, we're going to be showing, now that we're free to do so, Joe Hanneman and I, and Joe being my partner. And by the way, Kyle, thank you so much for really highlighting Joe's partnership and effort in this work that we've been doing. Oh gosh,
you're frozen. You're good. We still hear you.
Can you still hear me?
Yep.
I mean, I'm telling you right now, this is absolutely driving me insane. What's happening?
This is what was happening. So, Bobby, I did this from my folks' house out in Arizona, and it was just chaotic. The machine that I'd probably done 400 podcasts on live just was going like sounded like someone just poured sand into a freaking into an engine, and it just started just chugging through, and it would go like it was like jumping all around and crazy. And
oh no.
Anyway, Steve's back.
So I have I'll just tell the audience right now. So I have every single possible application using up. I have gigantic amount of RAM. I have gigantic amount of available disk space memory available. And for some reason, something is using up all my memory that I cannot trace, cannot find it. My background memory is being completely taken away from me.
Well, to be fair, you're probably just a panicking.
It's in. It's
Steve, I still have this, which is not conclusive by any means, but you've got a lot more than this. But I remember that this was something I found on the on X.
That may or may not have been leaked to a proxy back when I was under
some gag orders.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do they call it? Right leg drag? Is that kind of the official term?
It's a gate circumduction. It is, but the right leg is almost, it's not complete. And here's the other thing is depending upon the speed that she's walking and depending
and this one's really good.
This one's very revealing, especially when we're going to be showing versions of all of these zoomed in on, but you can really see it. And it becomes more pronounced the more fatigued she is. They go, oh, she can't be fatigued. She's a marathon runner. Well, she is. She's a marathon runner. But this was an incredible. We were talking about the mistakes that Claire Locke made in their demand, quoting preservation, cease and desist letters that they sent out to myself, yourself, the Blaze, Joe Hanneman. And one of the things that they said in that letter was that basically, said that Joe and I were full of shit and that we had made this up out of whole cloth, and that she was completely healed from her 2015 soccer injury, and that she has. And they literally go forward and say no qualified analyst would possibly see or insinuate that she has any kind of limp because she's completely healed. And then they go on to say, yeah, and she even runs marathons. And she
Lots
does.
of people run with injuries, it turns out.
But guess what? They said she does not have a limp. Now, is Claire Locke incompetent at $1,800 an hour?
You hope not.
The big media company killer that they are, or are they lying? Just
Bobby. Claire Locke is the company that represented Dominion Voting Systems and got like a $780 million settlement with Fox News. They're the ones that got that. So they crush people. And it's nice to get a letter from them. And for a second, you're like, oh, and then you're like, wait, that's not even the stuff you said in there is not even true. What we learned yesterday, and I did this through the filing, so I'm just going to highlight for people that didn't listen yesterday. I encourage you to go do it was a long one yesterday, but we went through all the fact patterns from the court filings. On November 4th, Steve, you wrote an article about this woman, Shawnee Kerkhoff, shooting people in the face with a pepper ball gun in, against the policies of the Capitol Police when it comes to less than lethal force. On November the 6th, apparently, we found out yesterday or the day before that the FBI did a polygraph on this woman and she failed it on two critical questions. Did you place those pipe bombs? And did you place those pipe bombs that night? She had a showed deception on that, which is pretty wild. Perfect. The FBI opened up an investigative file on her as a person of interest on November the 7th and began interviewing coworkers and family members and her boyfriend and her dog walker and some other people. And so they started doing the investigative process. They started sending out subpoenas and what are called preservation requests to get all of her social media, et cetera, et cetera.
They raided her home on the 7th.
They didn't say it that way, but yeah, that's worth noting because you guys sent somebody over there to look at it.
That's correct. We sent one of our DC-based reporters over there and saw it in action.
Okay, on November the 8th, Steve Baker writes his story, says based on comprehensive gate analysis and a totality of factors that were not all explained, but they were there and they were in the hands of a government agency, that they believe that she was likely the pipe bomber. They didn't say that she was like causing mass harm, that she hurt anybody, that she placed things that were viable or real devices, that she was guilty of a crime. They said they think that the hooded figure was in fact this person, Shawnee Kerkhoff, in that story, based on a bunch of different analysis. Go ahead.
Is she still law enforcement right now?
She went from being a U.S. Capitol Police officer on January the 6th of 2021 to sometime in June or July of 2021. She began working for the CIA as a CIA police officer, campus security, which is part of their security apparatus that does bodyguard details. They do front gate, they do ID checks, they do perimeter walks, they do all the security in all the places. So she's part of that general physical security presence at Langley. Today. What does that make you think?
Wait.
You're coming in from the outside. So what is you just found? She failed a polygraph while she was a CIA physical security police officer. They call it CIA police usually. So she was a CIA police officer that does campus security for Langley for one of our intelligence agencies. She failed a polygraph with the FBI asking, did you place those pipe bombs January the 6th? I'm sorry. She was asked that on November the 6th of 2025, just last year.
Obviously that means that she was told to do this. Right? I mean, why would she place non-functioning pipe bombs? Why would you do that? Obviously, she didn't want to kill anybody.
Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? I mean, let's say that she wanted him to blow up. I mean, she obviously was told to do that, right? How could she have not been informed that that's what she needed to do?
Our comprehensive theory of what we think happened, and this is mine, I'll speak for myself. I know Steve can weigh in and tweak it in any way he wants to, but my comprehensive theory looks something to the fact of, I think that she was involved in a training exercise, or at least that's how she was briefed. She went and did something for God and country, because that's what you do when you're a gung-ho, well-liked member of a group. She was a relatively low-level person. Nobody really works at Capitol Police, and you think like they're the elite of anything. They're just not. They're like the bottom tier of federal law enforcement. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means that they're basically glorified security guards, and they kind of do like tour guide stuff. Baker was telling me, the thing they mostly do is tell people where the bathroom is at the Capitol. So nothing wrong with that. And she was kind of a gung-ho version of that. So she was on the Less Than Lethal Squad. She's on the Riot Response Squad, et cetera, et cetera. She was moonlighting with Yogananda Pittman and doing some of the counter surveillance work or helping them in the intelligence unit. So she's doing these different things. She's doing what we call collateral details, because she's trying to do more. She's a go above and beyond. And I think someone probably asked her, hey, will you go do these things? We're going to do a stress test of our system. We're going to, check how the dogs work. We're going to, see how people respond to a chaotic event while there's something that's, a planned First Amendment event. Who knows what they told her?
Yeah.
But none of that's incriminating. And none of that, by the way, there's no mens rea there, which is like the thing of the mind that says you're doing a crime. So I didn't, none of us have accused us. I don't think Steve Baker has accused her of being some sort of villainous mastermind or tried to execute some violent plot, because none of us believe those bombs were real. And the reason why, Bobby, on January the 13th, when I was being briefed about this case, I asked them specifically, were these legit bombs? Were they going to go off? And the guy told me they looked very bomb-like, but they were inert. That's what I was briefed a week later, which is exactly what you think. By the way, as far as I know, there was a community-wide notice disseminated in the FBI amongst bomb technicians to let them know that these were inert devices. And the reason they do that is because if somebody puts a technology into play, then you want to know what technologies are being used. They did it overseas when it came to the war on terror, and they did it domestically as well. So if someone's using a bombing tactic, whether it be pressure cookers or whatever else, you want to know what the hell those things are.
Yeah.
So why would she do it? Yeah, you're right. It sounds like somebody said, hey, would you go do this thing? And my unified theory is she was probably asked to do that as a cutout. She didn't do anything wrong. She went and placed them down. There were probably motivating factors from U.S. Capitol Police management, maybe members of Congress, hard to say. ATF probably provides the materials. CIA gives the exit strategy. And then I think the FBI did the mop up, and I think they effed it up really badly when Steve Baker stumbled onto their person and exposed, like, looking underneath the rug. It's like, hey, wait, what have you assholes been doing when we weren't looking?
Well, one of the original things that I thought was so laughable about it all is that you had this day that supposedly is like Pearl Harbor 2.0, according to every soggy brain out there. And you have the guy and or gal that placed the pipe bombs in the most heavily surveilled area in the world. And the vice president is there, and like no one is held to justice years later. There's an award for it, and then Ryan Ruth, or whatever that guy's name was, the guy that set up the blind or whatever in the tree on Trump's golf course, that guy's already been sentenced to life in prison
very fast,
and everybody already knows who it is. And like she was trying to place a freaking pipe bomb, and she worked, and she's still employed by the
freaking CIA. Here's how you know the Capitol Police were in on it. You ready? I'm going to prove it to you conclusively. There's no way to see it any other way. Baker, you want to narrate what we're about to show?
Put it on there. So what we have right here is we have the gray hooded pipe bomber is actually at the walking over to a bush at the Congressional Black Caucus Institute. This is before the either device is dropped, either at the DNC or the RNC. The hooded person sits down and then begins to rummage in the backpack, pulling out something, leans way over. It appears, because it's kind of blurry. We've blown it up as best we can and highlighted it so you can see that on the left-hand frame there. But what she does essentially is she reaches down and places something under the bush. Maybe you can't because we can't see it, but then retrieves it, puts it back in, was somehow not content with what was happening at that location. You can see her leaned over right there, leaning over and reaching underneath the bush. And then just a few seconds later, because she was only there, I forget what it is, 31, 37 seconds, something like that she sits there. Very unmanly, like, by the way, cross-legged, and
We all sit
gets
like
up and then begins moving towards down a little alleyway that doesn't exist anymore. There's a new building there that blocks this out. But in 2021, there was a little alleyway that went over to the DNC at the time. And that's when she, placed the device there at the benches there. Essentially, the only two places that she sat down, there was only two places she sat down. She sat down on the bench at the DNC. She sat down at that bush right there. And then when Capitol Police found, or when they were notified that there was a device discovered at the RNC.
One sec, Steve. I'm going to roll the tape back just a little bit so we can show the two Capitol Police officers walking up to that bush. You can maybe give some context afterwards, but let's just show. Okay, so now we're on January 6th, so I've gone back on it. Guys, if you look at the center of the screen, they're coming up from behind the same bush we were just looking at in the dark. They're about to cross behind the sign that has the traffic signal on it. There's two officers from Capitol Police there. Carry on, Steve.
So this is 3 minutes before the device is found at the DNC. These guys were deployed to go out and ostensibly look for additional devices. They only went to two places. They went to the two places that the bomber sat down. That's it. Now, when they're standing around, they're kind of behind that.
They're going behind the tree right now. If you see the tree,
okay,
and
what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? We know that there's we know that there's Capitol Police CV, and then they walk by, and then the guy reaches back and does a little looky-loo and looks under the bush. Now, I said earlier, I'm not going to name this guy, but I'll tell you what his current job is. He's currently the Capitol Police liaison to the FBI. That guy.
No big deal.
Nah, that's purely coincidence.
Cold reaction, Bobby. Have you seen that video before?
I have not seen that video before. No.
What do you think about seeing the hoodie bomber visiting a bush, and then people from the Capitol Police? How long did it take, Steve, before they found the bomb from the minute they got out of their chair, their car?
Oh, out of their car was 12 minutes, something like that.
It was like 11 minutes and 7 seconds, or 11 minutes and 37 seconds. But they basically walk directly to that bush first, correct?
They go to the bush first, and then they go to the second bush.
And then they go to the second bush, which is where the bench was, and they find it.
And then they notify the Secret Service 2 minutes after what we saw right there.
So that's the interaction that
straight to the place.
Bobby, that's the interaction you were talking about, where the guys basically don't act like it's crazy and the kids are walking by. So that's where it is. Okay, so the bomber goes and sits down at the bush at night, does something underneath it, then turns around and eventually leaves it at the park bench, which is where they found it. That's where the kids are playing. That's where the sandwich eating happened. And the guys who went to go find that bomb went directly to the bush, and then 2 or 3 minutes later found the actual bomb, all under 12 minutes. And then, by the way, they never looked for another bomb again.
No.
Your reaction?
They never looked anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, all right, go ahead.
First off, the person that's walking in all of those footage is certainly clearly appears to be female. I mean, it just appears to be a female, just all around. All the physical appearances lead towards that. That's number one. Number two, if you're running some type of covert mission where you're going to kill somebody, you're going to kill a high-level government operative, you'd think you'd put on a black hoodie at night. You think you'd wear black. You'd wear no discernible anything so that you blend it in, and you certainly wouldn't be walking with such a casual operation. To me, the physical the body movements of everybody, her and the Capitol Police, is all giving this is a drill type of vibes. Like the way that she's walking, the way that she's moving around, it's like you're not trying to be covert. The only thing that's covert is that you have a hood on, but there's nothing that appears to be attempting to hide your identity, move with any sort of urgency, place anything with what would appear to be any type of strategy. And then all of the Capitol Police officers are basically doing, like you said, like they already know. They're walking with such a casual, undisturbed type of energy that it seems like the only way to achieve that would be to know for certain that it was not a concern.
I mean, great observation, Bobby, because one of the first things you notice about these two plainclothes counter surveillance officers from the Capitol Police is as they're walking down the sidewalk, they're not looking anywhere else. They're not looking in trash cans. They're not looking under any other bushes. They're not looking under cars. They're past tons of places where devices could be hidden, but they beeline it straight to that bush. And while they're doing so, they've got their phone up as they're walking down the sidewalk, typically doing what people nowadays, they're on their phone, heads down. They're not looking for devices. They know exactly where they're going. Interestingly as well, going back to looking at body language, gait recognition, things of that nature, the bomber the night before, because we have captured all available Capitol CCTV video of that person. The FBI has only showed a few seconds to the American people. We have it all. Now, we don't have every minute that the bomber is on the ground because there's some blind spots in the camera. And certainly the FBI has better resources than we do. They've captured a Ring camera, security cameras from businesses that were passed by. In fact, they actually say that they have, quote unquote, 30,000 pieces of video evidence relating to the pipe bomber. 30,000 pieces, not minutes or, frames or whatever. But anyway, so the point being is we have everything that was available currently on Capitol CCTV. In that 20 minutes of watching the bomber is a very specific thing that we notice. This person has no fear. This person isn't anxious. This person isn't looking over their shoulder, constantly wondering if they're being surveilled, if they're being watched. And then there's the famous kind of half stretch, half wave. If you've got a marked Capitol Police car and you're walking this way on the sidewalk, and 6 feet from you, or 10 feet or whatever from you, there's a marked Capitol Police car passing you by, the last thing you're going to do is draw attention to yourself. If you're a person doing a nefarious deal,
people get really, really small when they're doing shady stuff.
Bomb, right? You're going to be, as you said, wearing black, probably indistinguishable. But then, as the car is passing by, it's like,
yeah, what's up? No big deal. You know what's crazy? And this is something I'd like to share with people too. I used to do covert surveillance. The entire work is that you are trying to be undetected, and being confident and calm and pretending like you belong there is part of the gig. I used to tell people that I was kind of like a reef diver. I would dive into the ghetto, and I would get there before the fish were awake, and then I would just sit really still, and you just want to hang out and not do anything weird. And if people come by and they look at you, you just you look at them, make eye contact, go back to your clipboard or whatever it is that you're trying to do that, explains why you're there, you're working on something, and you're eating a lunch and wave at them a little bit, hey, what's up? You want to just be very nonchalant. One of the things I used to do in the line of that job is that I would change my license plates pretty regularly, and I would do them sometimes in the field. So I would drive in somewhere, I'd pull into a parking lot, I'd walk out, I'd very casually go, I'd take my freaking license plate off, and I'd slap on another one, and I'd screw that back in. That is not a thing that people do, that you've ever seen anybody doing. And if people do that, they'd be looking over their shoulder like, oh shit, I'm about to break the law and put on some fake license plates. And I used to do it totally confident because I was a federal agent. That was my job. And so I wasn't worried about it. I never had to look over my shoulder. I'd go, I'd run it in. I was quick. I was efficient, but I didn't care if anybody saw me, because if someone came up and said, hey, what are you doing? I'd be like, oh, my license plate fell off. What's that one? Oh, I have another one. That's my old license plate. It was underneath it. I just figured I might as well take it off since they're off. The end. It's like, I'm confident. I'm right. I'm allowed to be here. I have duty. I have authorization. This is all part of it. I bet you never saw this video either, Bobby, and I want to show it, and maybe Steve will narrate this. This is the other reason why we don't think the black, autistic, weirdly proportioned, size 12 shoes, 5'5.5" guy was the male that was the one delivering pipe bombs on the day, since he had no connection to government, no particular reason to be there, and apparently was buying pipe bomb materials 2 years before he was mad about an election, and several years after as well. The other problem was that it doesn't look like he was even there. And this may be Brian Cole Jr.'s. We think it's probably his car, while all the pipe bomber was confidently walking around D.C. You've probably never seen this. Steve, you want to explain what we're looking at?
Yeah, so this is a 2017 blue Nissan Sentra. We have the VIN number of that exact car, so we know exactly what the trim package was on that car as purchased by the Cole family. And then we also started looking in the area using CCTV traffic cameras from Capitol Police, and we found 3 2017 Nissan Sentras blue in the area that night. And you notice there's almost no traffic. That's because it was the COVID lockdown era. And there was, about the only people driving around at that time are law enforcement and, Uber Eats and Grubhub drivers. That's about it. And so we capture 3 cars. 2 of them we were able to eliminate as Brian Cole's car because they didn't have the right trim package. This particular car at this particular location is the identical trim package of Brian Cole's car, the exact wheels, of which there were 17 available options that year available between wheels and wheel covers of that particular model of car. And at that moment that we're capturing, that car is driving right directly into one of the cell towers where Brian, ostensibly or allegedly, that Brian Cole's phone pinged. The problem with that is that at that moment, the hooded bomber is a mile away, walking and distributing the bombs.
I'm going to pause on this screenshot so we can explain it again. For anybody who's never seen this before, these are roughly the zones that are being observed by the cell phone tower. So on the top of the screen, you're seeing it says Tower 147990. That's the cell phone tower that pinged. And in theory, that number 3 should correspond with where the pipe bomber was over by the yellow line on the right-hand side of the diagram that says 3. That's where the pipe bomber was. The problem was at exact that moment, you've got Brian Cole Jr. right in the middle of that zone driving towards the cell phone tower. And we're supposed to believe that slightly outside of the cell phone tower is exactly where the pipe bomber was at that moment. There's, if you look at number 1, so Bobby, as you look at number 1, you see that number, and then it's got like red lines coming out, and they kind of go up and right and down.
Yep.
That's the zone. So the smaller part of that angle is where the zone being picked up by that cell phone tower is. If you look above it and to the right, where you see the 1, 2, 3, and 4 kind of tightly clustered, those are the ping locations from supposedly that the government wants you to believe that the phone was at. So either he was, they were always outside of the margin of error, because there's a plus or minus kind of like margin of error based on how signals bounce. But we're supposed to believe that most of the signals were actually outside of where they were supposed to be in order to justify their pings putting him in place, or he was driving his car and he was just like zooming around doing something else.
Yeah, let me focus in on another factor. You see the arrow where it's driving. Okay, so that's who we believe is Brian Cole's car. That's the car that identically matches the trim package in relation to the actual VIN number of the car he was driving and owned. And you'll see that we get a Capitol Police ping at 8:04:19 as he's driving straight into vector number 3 right there. And if you look at number 3 on the other side of the screen, this is in the vicinity of Folger Park, because at 8:04:19, the hooded bomber on foot disappeared into a dead zone, or blind spot in Capitol CCTV coverage, but was on foot, remained in foot, was off camera for 8 minutes. Now you would say, okay, well, he jumped in his car and drove over to the other location real quick and then drove back. So in that 8-minute coverage, the problem is that just go to Google Maps, drop the pin right there where that car pinged at 8:04:19, and it takes about 7 minutes driving time to get to Folger Park, and then you've got another 7 minutes driving time to get back. But the problem with all of that theory is that this car wasn't going back to the pipe bomb location. We followed this car as it then got onto I-95 heading back to Virginia.
And here is the other Nissan. That's hard to tell what the trim package is, but I'm going to show you that it's 2 ladies. So I zoomed in myself, but you can see those are white ladies driving in that car. So this is of the 3. You got one with unknown drivers, one that doesn't match the trim package, and then one which is this one. Those are white hands at the steering wheel. It's double occupied. That's not the right answer.
And while we're giving credit where credit is due here, and as I said earlier, I really appreciate you spending some time crediting Joe Hanneman on his work on this. I could not have done this work without him, and we could not have done this work without Armitage, who has done. Armitage is the online name for privacy and security reasons of the guy who has been an open source video investigator working with us for a long time. Interestingly, there's another story related to Armitage that everybody should know. In his own enthusiasm to help, because he's been obsessed with the pipe bomber for years, that he actually reached out to the FBI with his evidence that he had been gathering, his video evidence, and the FBI, in fact, started engaging with him on a regular basis. The FBI agent who was engaging with him, and look, Armitage, just, no guile, no whatever. He's just like, I'm happy to see this case solved, and he starts just turning everything that he has over to the FBI and to the DOJ. I mean, literally writes a paper for the Department of Justice on this thing, and the exact agent with whom Armitage was interacting is the exact agent who signed the criminal complaint against Brian Cole Jr.
No, of course. It's just so bad, man. It's so lazy and it's so stupid, unfortunately.
This guy knew. I mean, the guy who signed the criminal complaint, the agent,
knew that there was exculpatory evidence. All right, Bobby, I want you to react to it just because, again, I've been way too close to this. I know Steve is breathing this. He sleeps it every night. What do you think about what you saw there? Because some of that stuff's probably new.
Well, I think first of all, it's unsurprising to me, but I think what it really portends is a far greater problem, which is that, sometimes when you think about other human beings, you think that they wouldn't act much differently than you. They would have a soul, to go back to what we talked about before. It's like, how could a person allow a person to be arrested and jailed when this evidence seems so obvious years later? It's like, how could a person live with themselves doing that? Like, if this is this obvious and we're on the outside looking in years later, and none of these things even make sense from a basic standpoint, and somebody like Thomas Massey is out here saying, like, you're literally pinning this on the wrong guy. It's like, how do these people sleep at night knowing that that's what's happening? How does that woman sleep at night knowing that she maybe was running that operation and sees what's happening to that guy? It really makes you wonder about, they talk about conspiracies and how could so many conspiracies be done with all these people knowing about them? And it's like, well, this might be yet another one of those things playing out in real time. And it really makes you wonder about a lot of other things that happen. Like the Charlie Kirk thing comes to mind when I look at this, where it's like, everybody thinks it's an open and shut, very obvious case. And it's like, what are we missing that this is showing? How many people know that this is not what it is? Because it certainly seems like what you guys are saying makes a lot more sense to me than at least what they are presenting. And I'm unsurprised that they would do that, but it is very dark.
It gets darker. It gets darker.
I was going to I'm going to throw a couple of connections out there, and then I want to have Steve respond, and because maybe he's thought about why. And we're not going to scoop Megyn Kelly. She's going to share all this stuff next week, correct?
Yeah, and I've been holding back on commenting on many things that I gave to Megyn. Now, again, so everybody knows, Megyn's not, yielding to government pressure or her friendship with Bongino or anybody, to stop this story. It is very simply no more complicated than this, is that an hour before I was, to be on her show, hour and a half, this bombshell dropped.
The thing we covered yesterday, folks.
I was going on her show at 1:00 on Wednesday. I had promised her to give her first crack at me post my termination from the Blaze. I honored that commitment to her. We've been working on this for a week. This appearance. They had been doing all their background research. They had, incredible amount of research that they put in preparation for interviewing me on this story. And then, all hell broke loose, let's say, with this polygraph revelation that dropped around 11:30 a.m. on Wednesday. And so what they decided to do at the time with her production staff was, instead of going live, that she would finish her program that she had, and then we would tape for a later date. We thought it would be like Thursday or today. So we did almost 2 hours of that with a lot of video evidence, and it was pretty difficult. And it was the most difficult interview I ever did. She's an attorney, and she treated me like I was under cross-examination, and it was fine. She went after me. I think when I see the playback, there may be a half a dozen answers I gave her that I might change. I wish I'd said better. Wouldn't change because I'm not
always
embarrassed.
that way. But
I didn't say anything that embarrasses me. I certainly didn't present anything that was factually incorrect. But you always have a better answer in your brain when you do as many interviews as we do. And so so what they have now done is they've decided to basically make a special event out of this with a lot of pre-promotion, and that'll be out early next week. So
all right,
that's the truth of how the Megyn Kelly thing evolved. Now that said, I've pulled back some things.
Yeah, we're giving her some grace, and I don't need to scoop anybody, guys. If you guys know this, like my business here is not breaking stories. Like, we'll do it if we have to. I'd much rather a bigger outlet do so. And so the stories that Steve has that he's holding back they're pretty intense. And having known what they are, well, I'm dancing around them as well. Let me add a couple other little pieces of flavor for you, Bobby, as you're sitting here and you've seen some video. We've given you some background on it. I think we shared a couple pieces you wouldn't see if you were a casual observer. Nothing against it. There's just too many stories. The two guys that you saw walking up to that bush, one of those guys, they're both working for what's called the Counter Surveillance Unit, which is a wandering around in plainclothes unit for the Capitol Police. One of those guys became the liaison from Capitol Police to the FBI, so it controls the information between those two entities. Okay?
Perfect.
That's one thing that happened. The guy who was the lead of the bomb squad for the ATF moved in to the managerial role of the Counter Surveillance Unit, so he went from ATF to now running the Counter Surveillance Unit at Capitol Police. And the guy who was the lead investigator for Thomas Massey's staff on the pipe bomb case, who knew the most about it of any person that was informing Tom Massey as they did their investigative end from Congress, became the FBI congressional liaison. He moved over to the FBI as the AD of Congressional Affairs and then began briefing Congress and theoretically Capitol Police as well. So you have this interesting triangle of some people moving into certain positions and other people now, like all at the, I would say the information choke points, they were all kind of in a special spot. Now, interestingly enough, in the last few months, we've had, probably a month and a half, we've had Marshall Yates leave his job. He was the guy that was Massey's guy. He also was the guy that threatened Tom Massey's staffer with an investigation, if you saw any of that stuff. He's gone. We have Yogananda Pittman was originally there on that day. She's out, and so you had this other dude there. And there's more information to be said, but when everyone looks at conspiracy, we always assume it's far-reaching, lots of people, all these kind of cogs, all these drones just doing things. The number of people that could be involved in this doesn't have to be more than about 8. And maybe that seems like a high number even for what we've estimated. I wanted Steve to weigh in on his thought on that, and if I missed any of the connections that were kind of the fun little triangle.
Yeah. First of all, if you're talking about conspiracy theories fall apart by the number of people that have to be involved in order to pull them off. I mean, that's the bottom line, and yet. We're talking about a multi-agency conspiracy here, and I believe that that's true. But we're also talking about the individual Shawnee Kerkhoff that we've already said that our grand unified theory is that she thought she was on a training exercise, and she's very enthusiastic. I mean, her fellow officers loved her, her commanders loved her. She always volunteered. She was first in line for everything. And in fact, the biggest criticism that I've heard was from one of her commanders. Because I have many sources, both present at Capitol Police, retired, and whistleblowers, and one of her commanders told me that his only criticism of Shawnee Kerkhoff was that sometimes she was a little too earnest. She was like, me, and that was, so she was an easy recruit for such an opportunity. And we also know through another source that she was apparently moonlighting with the Intel division at Capitol Police. Now, her main job was CDU, which is a civil disturbance unit, as not only a less lethal user, officer, whatever, but she also was a training officer in the less lethal capacity. And so, but moonlighting with Intel makes sense because she actually then also already had her application in to CIA before January 6th. Why do I know that? That was revealed in a January 6th court trial. She was the first person to testify in the very first January 6th trial. So there was information given that helped gave me enough leads to discover that she was now an employee with the CIA. But in that trial, she actually says, I had already applied to my next position in government. She didn't say CIA. She just said she was still in a government employee, but she had already applied to her next position before January 6th. I'm saying way too much, but you kind of have to give a little baseline here, a little undergird where we're going here on this commentary. Is that the bottom line for her is that we don't believe, as we said before, that she was involved, that she thought that she was doing anything wrong. She was, as Kyle said, her actions were for God and country. It was a training exercise, and it was highly siloed. Probably, need to know only. She probably had her commander at Intel said, "Hey, we got to, I know this, we're setting up a training exercise for tomorrow, and here's what we need you to do. And don't worry, everything's going to be fine. You're going to be covered. We're going to be watching and monitoring you on Capitol CCTV. We're going to have some drive-bys from the cops. You're going to see them. We're going to be fully aware of what you're doing." And what we need you to do is we need you to approach this this is a blind spot in the cameras, and then we're going to have you exit through a hidden gate in Rumsey Court. And of course, this completely destroys, by the way, the narrative that the FBI gave us in saying that in that confession that Brian Cole gave, he said that he learned his routing for the distribution of the bombs at DNC and RNC from Google Maps. Well, there's two things he's not going to get from Google Maps. That's the blind spots in the camera placements. That's only available to Capitol Police. And then also the secret gate with the hidden latch exiting Rumsey Court, where the bomber disappeared into the night and never on camera again.
We've looked. It's not marked on Google Maps.
Nope.
Gentlemen, I want to be respectful for your time. Steve, I think you have to go get your ticker looked at and pretty soon too. So
yeah, this is making me crazy. I hate it, but I have far too many doctor's appointments these days since my heart tried to stop working back 3 months ago. But I do have a cardiologist appointment here in just a few minutes, so I need to get up and go that. But Kyle, thank you, and Bobby, it's great to meet you.
Yes, likewise.
Maybe someday in person. But let me just close out by finishing the answer to the question after we chase too many rabbits, and then Bobby can have all the rest of the time. Is that and that's the story of why I left the Blaze. Yes, technically I was fired, but that was a planned firing.
You pushed for it.
Yeah,
you pushed it.
The Blaze made decisions that put me in 180-degree opposite direction in terms of how we wanted to handle this case. As an employee of the Blaze, the law firm that's representing the Blaze in that potential, there's been no lawsuit filed, but in the potential, the threat of a defamation suit from Claire Locke representing Shawnee Kirk, actually representing CIA, but that's another story, is that they represent me as well. But because I was completely out of phase in the direction that I wanted to go, the law firm had to actually part ways with me, even though I'm an employee still an employee of the Blaze. They had to part ways with me. And then basically early last week, I started doing some things contrary to my gag order. And that was on purpose.
Yeah, that checks.
And then I announced to the Blaze that I would be going on Megyn Kelly's show. Megyn Kelly did not want to have they didn't want to get into crossways with the Blaze in any way, shape, or form by having me on. And so basically the dismissal was timed. Look, the Blaze begged me 3 or 4 times in the last week and a half to stay. Can we work this out? Can we do it? I met with my editor-in-chief in DC on Sunday. On Tuesday night, he calls me up around 6 p.m. on Tuesday night, and he said, are you still doing this thing? Are you going on Megyn tomorrow? Because we all knew that was the break point. And I said, yeah. I said, I told you Sunday I am. He goes, I know you did. I'm just checking in. And then he said, hey, look, he said, I hope that what is about to happen on a professional level does not affect our friendship. And I said, absolutely not. I said, you
Nice.
and me, we're good. We're totally good. And so he said, okay. And then the next morning at 9:30, I was notified of my termination, and 2 hours later, God dropped a gift in my lap of the polygraph result of Shawnee Kerkhoff. And
now the Blaze should pay you $1 million and beg you to come back if they're smart, but we'll see what they do.
Yeah. So if we ask,
I'm going to keep saying that, Steve.
If we end this on the same topic that we began it on, I think because I got that gift from above, my 27-year-old son called me up the other night. He goes, "Do you think the fact that you got dismissed at 9:30 and then this big story dropped in your favor at 11:30?" He said, here's the way he put it. He said, "Do you think this is one of your Jesus things?" and I said, that's a great way of putting it. I said, but yeah. So I think, while not perfect, I think my soul is good.
I love it, Steve. You're a good man. I'm going to play something fun because we need to laugh about it. And Bobby, you've never probably heard this song before, but Bobby, give people an opportunity.
Yeah, it's at Take Naps on Instagram, at Take Naps on X, on Facebook, TikTok, everything. Just go to followbobby.com.
People, if you're watching, follow Bobby, follow Steve. These guys are great, and they're people that I'm following, so I think you guys will get a kick out of them. If you share my sense of humor, then you'll share theirs as well, and you'll also share their interest in finding out what the truth is, which is sometimes funny and sometimes not. I've got something that is funny and truthful and sort of disturbing. It's the FBI's. If you haven't seen it, you need to follow our channel wherever you can. We appreciate that. Enjoy this as start of a palate cleanser. I have a triple palate cleanser in sort of honor of the Holy Triduum. We've got Good Friday today. Got Holy Saturday and Easter coming up, so I will give you 3 palate cleanses as you guys go into it. This one is from Mr. Newberger.
Yeah, honey, all into me. Yeah, honey, baby, all to me. Yeah, hey. Welcome to my FBI's, a flippy eyeball surprise. I'm focused on catching bad guys, just fly in the friendly skies. Don't be staring in my FBI's. I fired all the talented guys. Whip by my honey pot prize. Tweet into the bureau surprises. An agency oh so rash, investigating outcomes last, announcing things real fast. That's my style. I'm Director Kash. Look into my FBI's. Black leather on my wee little thighs. Nookie as a mock up, Def Jet flies. Loyalty to just one guy. Look into my FBI's. Crooked like most wanted guys. Tiny like pocket size. Hiding all the Epstein files. Yo, come and get on this private jet to a big event to see his girl set. Taxpayers lament, but she hot baby bad. She do not fret that his eyes be bent. He's chopped and cuffed, was locker stuff. Ain't calling Trump's bluffs, cause he gives him stuff. If he sound in a huff and you done had enough, then he say that's tough, he's about to get rough. Welcome to my FBI. My list of foes down inside. Some stopping bad terrorist guys, and none arrested, so maybe it's lies. Don't be mad at how I downsize. Had to snuff out some liberal spies. Now my caviar is always supplied, and all my people pray that I'm fired. Look into my FBI's. Black leather on my wee little thighs. Nookie as my Issa, Kev jet flies. Loyalty to just one guy. Look into my FBI's. Crooked like most wanted guys. Tiny like guy, pocket size. Hiding all the Epstein files.
It's pretty bad.
I like the pocket-sized part where he's just in a pocket.
I don't know why they're so mean about his size. He's not, I think he's like my height or a little bit taller. I'm 5'8". I think he's maybe 5'9". And he's kind of a stout dude in real life, but I mean,
I still think I have to say though, I do think the Dan Bongino song is funnier.
It's definitely funnier because that guy's been doing that for a long time, and he wanted to be nothing worse than like wanting to be Dan Bongino and then not wanting to be anymore, wanting to be Danny DeVito. You saw the original version of it, right?
Maybe not. No, I just heard this.
Did you not know there's an original?
I heard the song the other day. Like I saw it on X circulating.
Oh my God.
I just thought it was catchy. He's like,
Hold
Dan Bongino. I thought,
yeah, you've heard the new one. You didn't know.
No, I don't know anything about the guy or anything about it at all. I just heard the song. And I
okay, so this is Nick Let's Go. And let's see, I have the original. This is the original. This one's like years old. You've probably never heard this one. This is where that song came from. So you saw him climbing underneath the basement, right? He's got like the spring in his hand.
I don't know. Maybe not. Yes.
Okay, so that's the new one. He's got a beard and he's got long hair.
Yeah.
This is the original. He did a remake of the original. First, he wanted to be like Dan Bongino, and then he was disappointed with Dan Bongino, so he no longer wants to be. That's why he was like, who's the man that did. This is the original. This is
I
what
didn't
you
even know that.
Stand by. Here we go.
I want to be at the RNC. I want to see Patricia McCloskey. I want to scream for the GOP. I want to sit with Dan Bongino. I want to show the American flag. Eggs behind the toilet in grandma's basement. I want to ask him if he'll be my dad. I want to change my name to Nick Bongino. I want to tell him about the man in the stairs. He kinda looks like Dan Bongino. Grandma tries to tell me not to go down there, but I would be safe with Dan Bongino. I wanna be at the RNC. I wanna be like Dan Bongino. I wanna be at the RNC. I wanna be like Dan Bongino.
I did not see that.
That was the OG song, and then he did the update where he's disappointed.
Oh. Okay, yeah, no, I didn't know anything about it. That guy's like really like sweaty, and that's kind of like scary almost. If that was like, if that
I
was,
don't know what was under the stairs either. It's unsettling.
Yeah, like if that was a song about you, you'd be like,
if somebody made you here's the thing: if somebody makes you a parody song, you should appreciate that you have the status of people that make a parody song about you.
Yeah.
But also, depending on who that person is, you should be concerned.
Yeah, the sweatiness in the basement. That is. Yeah.
This thing, that's a little much, but seriously, catchy. It's a catchy jam. You're going to hear that the rest of your day, unfortunately, and that's just how it works.
Yeah, the new one, I like. That's what I don't even really think I watched.
The new one
much
has better
video.
technology.
I just listened to it and I was like, that's actually. I was like, that's pretty good.
The new one is him creeping underneath like a crawl space in a house, and I'm mostly worried about him inhaling all that insulation dust that was down there.
Yeah, maybe that's what's happened in the past, and that's why we got here. I don't know.
Too much.
But at least he's on it to know that Bongino is. You know what I mean? At least he's on it. At least he's disappointed.
He's tracking. He understood that there was a failure, and it wasn't his. And now he doesn't want to be Dan Bongino. He wants to be Danny DeVito. And who hates Danny DeVito? Nobody. He was in Twins. Bobby, thank you for spending all that time with me today. I had fun. I hope I appreciate like a regular person. Like I said, I'm way too dug into this thing, and I think a lot of people around here probably are too in my chat. So thank you for being a sounding board of sanity for us.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's funny when I was listening to Steve talk, I'm like, man, I'm literally like guy who yells in phone. Like my stuff is good because it's just comedy. I'm an observer. I wasn't an FBI agent. I wasn't in the military.
That's what I wanted you for.
Yeah, I wasn't any of those things. I'm just like literally a guy that was building websites that started yelling in my phone because I thought it was funny and I was frustrated. So I'm looking at you guys and I'm like, see, this is great. These are people that actually have a background.
Here's what you know. You're not wrong. Your thoughts were and this is what I think that this is why I think the PSYOP is failing right now on anything that they try. They're pulling this like 2003 BS where they think they can control it. There's too many guys like you. There's too many guys. Like I'm still a regular guy. I may have been in the FBI, but I'm still just a dude. Like I used to yell on my phone too. That's how I stayed sane when I was doing it. And I think they think they can tell us what to think, and we're going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. Like give us the slop. Like we're just going to get it. And it's like, we're not. We don't want that. You can't feed us that garbage anymore.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that's so funny about it is that like I have no background in that at all. I'm just a person that's relatively intelligent and aware and not an idiot and not willing to be lied to, that understands that every single thing that comes into my life and stays in my life is there because I focused on self-preservation, figuring out how to make my own money, save my money, invest it, protect myself, build my environment in my house and protect myself. Knowing how to navigate the world is the only way an entrepreneur succeeds. So that's something that I've spent my life doing. So now they're lying to us about all this stuff, and I have no expertise whatsoever. And I'm like, that's BS. And I can see that clear as day. And I'm just reflecting that back out. And then little did I know, there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that are like, yeah, I see that too. And it's just like, no matter what, their greatest laid plans are so transparent now. And like this case is just one of a million things that you're just like, how does that even make sense? Like a rational mind doesn't believe that. Correct. Yet they keep doing that with everything. And it just really portends like a very dark like a dark future and really a dark present where it's like somebody could be assassinated right in front of your face and they'll lie about it 60, 70 years ago with JFK and nothing ever happens there. And then it's like, here we are watching more of these same types of things play out in real time. And we think because we have a phone and a TV and the internet and the world is better, that's not happening. But there it is right in plain sight. Like, here's this case with this girl and who knows what will happen, but it just proves that these things, these ops are like alive and well, which is dark.
It is dark. You're self-employed, yes?
Yeah.
There's something real specific about the people that are able to come out and speak because you can't be canceled by yourself. It takes like, I work for me now. People are like, we're going to call your advertisers. Like, knock yourself out, dude. Like, all they care is that people are watching.
Yep.
I'm not saying anything that's untrue. I'm not saying anything that's mean. Well, I'm saying things that are mean sometimes. But I mean, it's like
Morris gave up a big nugget.
Like sometimes we got a big nugget. But I'm giving things that are true. I am not saying them in disingenuous ways, but I have to work for me. Like, I'm probably unemployable by anybody else at this point, just because I have an opinion, God forbid, in America, which isn't that amazing? The more that we've been able to have like the First Amendment share on the internet, the less that they think that you should be able to say it because it'll cancel you.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like, I'm sure you get this question a lot where the most common question that I'm asked is, what can we do about it?
Mm-hmm.
And like, my answer is always like, dude, I don't know. Talk about it. Like, get online and yell about it. Do what I'm doing. That's the only thing that I knew how to do. If I knew a better way, I would have done it. Yeah, you could run for your local elections. You could run for Congress, whatever. But like, what do you do tomorrow? That's what you could do. And I get messages from people all the time where they're like, I literally can't. And it actually reminds me of during the, the mysterious air virus, when the air was poisoned, where I would get messages all the time from spouses of police officers.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I can't say this online because my husband is a police officer and they will penalize him for what I say on social media about this. And I was like, oh my God, can you imagine how many people are being hamstrung by this? Corporate people and all the rest. It's like, and then it made me realize that I'm sure you feel the same way. It's like, this is almost like a duty. It's like once I have no choice. This is a duty. It's like, I don't have, nobody made me go to an office and wear a mask to get paid to get my pension. I was out of that. I could voice all these things, but so many people can't. So it's like,
I lost it all because of that. And it was like, now I have to speak for the people that went in there. And I have an active lawsuit against the federal government over all that stuff too, which will be interesting now that Todd Blanche is in. We were negotiating with Todd Blanche's people when he was the number 2 as AG or as deputy AG. And now that he's the acting AG, I guess his people might move into a more powerful spot. Maybe they can pull it off. But we did, if people ever want to, like, it's a really dark way of looking at it. But if you want to have the darkest thought, here it is. You ready? The people that supposedly will give their life to protect you for freedom and, will protect you because of like law and order and justice, like they wouldn't even lose their job over what they knew was right. For free speech, for not wearing a mask, for not persecuting moms who were like hanging out with their kids at a park.
Yeah.
If that didn't make, and I think it did, I think it radicalized a lot of this country.
Yes.
You're a gun guy, are you not? I've seen some pictures. I stalked you a little bit and saw some pictures of some guns.
I'm not as huge of a gun person as most people assume that I am, but
you have some.
I fire them. Yeah.
All right. I've got 2 more palate cleanses. I usually like to let people just breathe off the ugliness of what we talk about, which is always pretty gross. This is something I just ripped from Instagram, makes me smile, and so I'll let you enjoy it with me as well.
Hey, honey, got a new gun.
What? Wow. Nice. How much?
$2,500.
That's it? With all the mags?
Yeah, 3 mags. That SIG was trash. I needed an upgrade.
That's a steal. Let me see this thing. Wow. Incredible craftsmanship. That's the best trigger I've ever felt.
I know, that's going to get me to A class.
Wow. Did you start an order for a second gun?
Not yet.
What? You should have. No, it's Christmas. You know what? I'm going to text Grace. I'm going to tell her she's got to get one of these for each. I'm going to tell all the girls. That's amazing.
That's the wife that some people wish they had. People are like, "You're lucky. You married a good one." I'm like, my wife doesn't like. She doesn't even ask me. If I just tell her, I'm like, "Hey, I'm thinking about it." She's like, "Just do it. Just make it happen."
Yeah.
Last little thought as we go into the weekend. You ready? This is 100% true. You do a lot of training in plate carrier. Is that just you doing fitness, like getting some steps in and carrying some weight?
Yeah, I followed a lot of fitness people in the early 2020s, and I have a relationship with First Form, the supplement brand, and I saw people wearing the plate carriers that were the most fit people, and I thought that seems easy. So you put 10 pounds in the front, 10 pounds in the back. I walk for hours, and it just gets the brain moving and makes the walk a lot more difficult. It's good for your posture, good for your core. So yeah. That's what I do.
I need to get you on wearing a night vision helmet so you can look like a full psycho. Because if you're really doing it right, you're looking like a complete maniac. And then you should start slinging a rifle too. I know you do it at night, so you might as well just go all the way. People think
that I'm like LARPing. They think I'm wearing a bulletproof vest to like act like I'm hard or something. And it's like, dude, it's a fitness, it's an exercise vest. Like it was for sale on the First Form website. I didn't buy it from some tactical gear store. And now they make fun of me because I put the water in the pouch.
That's what the pouch is for. Things. It's an admin pouch. That's literally what it's for.
Yeah, I put the headphones in there. I put the water in there.
I like that because it looks like you're not trying to do something that you're not.
You brought your baby bottle. I'm like, shut up. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
So I'm supposed to hide the water in my pocket so you guys don't call me a baby. I don't care. And I'm not gonna.
It's fat guys that are calling you that too. By the way.
What's that?
It's fat guys that are calling you that.
Yeah, and I literally like the reason that it started was because I was out there walking at night and I think a lot. Like when you're out walking for 2 hours, you think. And not only that, your blood is moving, your brain is cooking. And I just was like, I started making Instagram stories that eventually I would turn into videos. So now when I'm out there walking, I do it. And they think I'm like trying to act like I'm hard. And it's just like, you're a soggy brain. You're like a Bongino fan. These are Bongino fans that say stuff like that.
100%. I love it. Here's my last little thought to you. This is an inherently true thing from a really weird looking guy. I have strange stuff that comes through my feed. And this is my last thought as you go into the weekend. Folks, remember that even though it's not always the option, it's always on the menu.
Violence works. If someone says or does something that you do not like, just physically hurt them. They will stop.
That's it. Violence works. It totally does. 100%. Bobby, I appreciate you, bud. Have a great weekend. Have a great, happy Easter. And I hope we do this again.
To you as well, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Thanks for being on the program. I know it was long. Sometimes we got things to say. You guys are the best for joining us. Follow and support the sponsors. Links are in the show description. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. What's wrong with you? Why are you like that? Who made you this way? All the easy things. Silent and Patriot Protect. I just got another message about Patriot Protect from some folks. So look at them. Sierra Whiskey or Undertack. Check out the Shield Arms guys. I got a new lower that I'm going to be able to show over on Tackleberry. I am getting there. I promise you I'll get it done. Just go ahead and use this QR code if you want to scan it if you're watching a TV. God bless all of you. He is risen soon. Today is a day of remembering that no meat for those of you who are Catholic. And see you guys on the other end. It's been a heavy week, so I hope that made you smile.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram @Kyle Seraphin.